Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Chiefs Digest live Q&A. Yes, hooray, hooray. It is Q&A day, I guess, Luttrell says. Yeah, I understand. I figured this one might be a spicy one. See what everybody's questions are out there this week. Not a whole lot of comments or thoughts on this one. We'll just probably get straight into the Q&A for the most part. Don't have a lot of. I feel like I'm getting ready to turn into Andy Reid here on a Monday. Don't have any injuries for you. We do know a little bit more about obviously the Wanye Morris injury from what I'm told, and haven't had an update since yesterday. But I was initially told that that is not suspected that Wanye has an ACL tear. It is believed that he had other additional damage in the knee that may involve other ligaments. Aaron Borgman, if any of you follow him, he and Evan Kraft over on their Sports Med Bros podcast do a great job of breaking down hyperextensions like the one Wanye suffered and how it can cause then the post-lateral corner of the knee. It can create other damage opposite the ACL. So that's most likely what what Wanye is dealing with. We'll see if Andy Reid gives us more of an update on Wednesday. Haven't heard any more of an update on Trent McDuffie other than a hyperextension in the knee. It did, at least momentarily on Sunday night, look like there was some consideration that maybe Trent McDuffie could go back into that game. He did not go back to the locker room initially. He remained on the sidelines in the first half. They did eventually give him a pretty hefty-looking little brace to put on that knee that he was then walking around on. Looked pretty stiff, so it didn't look like there was a ton of mobility in it with that brace. So it didn't look like he was going to be going in as long as he was wearing that. And then I did not see him on the sidelines in the second half when they eventually did rule him out. Otherwise, we'll get the more updates on Wednesday and kind of see which direction this team is going to go this week. And we'll see what goes the rest of the season for as matters that goes. Like I said, don't have a lot of any other updates. I do expect that the Chiefs will be making a roster move this week as far as Wanye going to injured reserve. Obviously, I mean, it would behoove the Chiefs to probably bring up one of their tackles to bring up from the practice squad to just give them a additional tackle on the roster, even though they have three with Jawan Taylor and Jawan obviously being injured right now. They could just go ahead and stick with what they've got, and kind of if they need another tackle, or if depending on if and when Jawan is going to be coming back. They've got Chu Godric, who's the international player who has been around with this team for a few years, and I would love, just for his benefit, I think it would be great if Chu got some experience. I think he's deserved it. He's been with this team. I think this is his third year now with the Chiefs. Made a lot of progress. Definitely got a lot more looks with the second team than he usually did in training camp this year. Thought there was a chance that maybe he would even, if the Chiefs could get away from having to use the international exemption on him, they might. And the NFL has changed the rules now where they do allow teams to elevate international player designations on the practice squad, elevate them up to the active roster, just like other practice squad players. So that's a possibility. They could obviously do that. They've got the new offensive tackle that they signed, Matt Derrick, that they signed last week, but he's only been here for a hot minute, so I would not necessarily expect that they would press him into duty immediately. Obviously they could, but Chu's been around for a lot longer, knows the system, knows what the Chiefs do, so I think that would make a little bit more sense if they do need a third tackle, if Jawan is going to continue to be out against the Chargers this week. I think that's all I've got for now. So I'm going to let you all take the wheel and drive the conversation tonight. And we'll start with MCL. Play looked sound against a tough opponent. Was the Chiefs' decision to cut simply based on prior draft picks and free agency, being ahead in money and draft position like Wanye and Jalen Moore? I mean, I think it was a calculated decision on trying to sneak Play onto the practice squad. Remember, Essa he's still a project player. If I'm not mistaken, I think he only played 1 year of high school football. And then started out at a small college, I think been a junior college, then transferred. I always forget whether it was Washington or Washington State. I think it's Washington. Sure, because Washington State's terrible. Actually, now I say that, and I was going to realize that it wasn't Washington. But oh gosh, yeah, it was Washington State. Now I feel bad about I've just insulted Washington State, so I feel sorry about that. But I think it was entirely about that. It was just basically numbers. You're right. I mean, the Chiefs kept 4 tackles on the active roster, and from a development standpoint and ready to play standpoint, I mean, you signed Jalen Morse, you were keeping him, and then it came down to that 4th spot between Wanye and for Essa Pole. What the Chiefs were hoping to do. They were hoping that a little bit of the fact that Pole was still a little bit of a project and that he was an undrafted free agent, that they could sneak him onto the practice squad. And obviously it was a miscalculation. The Jets claimed him. Fortunately for the Chiefs, the Jets let him go, and Pole had other opportunities, but there was no doubt. I mean, Kansas City was where he wanted to be as far as a practice squad goes. I don't know if he had any 53 offers. Usually would say if a player has a 53 offer, they're going to go there. But I do know that Pole definitely wanted to be back in Kansas City. If he had some 53 offers, maybe from some teams that were less together, I think he still might have come to Kansas City. I mean, he definitely wanted to be in this organization and thought it was a great place for him. So, and I think it has been. So, I mean, and obviously of all the practice squad situations, this is where he wanted to go. He was hoping to be here after training camp. This just didn't work out. So I agree. I thought he looked solid too. So I want to see more of him. Paul, 2 days later, and I still can't believe it. They went for it. Can you, Matt? I can believe one of them. I still don't get. I'm still baffled about a little bit of the inconsistency. I don't understand it, especially when, last week you had 4 times essentially you were at midfield, 3 times on the Cowboys side of the 40, and you never went for it. So that perplexes me a little bit. I feel, it's just, like I said, it's just the inconsistency. You didn't go for him in any of those situations, and then you go for it in 2 situations in the 4th quarter. And one of them in particular, I think is, I had a problem with. I mean, I get it. Not everybody's going to, and the numbers, I get, some have said, that the math says and the analytics say that even on the 4th down from your own 31, that it made mathematical and analytical sense to go for it. I just felt like, in that situation, your defense, the way it had been playing, I say kick the ball, let your defense do its job, going forward and running the risk, and basically a 50-50 shot. I mean, especially that play. If they had run the ball with Kareem, I'd probably feel a little bit differently about this. But they tried to get a little bit more outside the box on that play. And I think that was the longer one. That was the 4th and 5, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that, but I believe that was the one. I've been getting those numbers conflicted in my head this week. That one I would have punted and let my defense play, because the defense was playing really, really well. You turn the ball over at your 31, you're giving up 3 points at least. And obviously in that situation, they gave up 7. That's the one I just wouldn't have done. So I wouldn't have done that. I would have gone ahead and relied on my defense to get a stop at the other and give me the ball, and maybe, halfway decent field position still. And going for it in both situations, not necessarily bad, but the play call on the 4th down from their own 41 the second time, I just did not like that play call at all. I mean, obviously the Texans knew it was coming. They saw it. I mean, that version of that play has been on film enough clearly that the Texans had a pretty good idea of what was going on. And I usually give Andy Reid a lot of credit for running different variations off of plays and setting things up with a play and then running a different variation of that play later or a different look off that play. That one that just was not well executed. It seemed to really eliminate some options. Did not like Kareem Hunt lined up as essentially a tight end in that spot. I did not like how any of that offense was managed in the fourth quarter, but I guess, as they say, your mileage may vary. Andy Reid's forgotten a lot more about football than I ever will, so we're moving on, Paul. We're moving on. Brian, I'm with you. We all want Nick. We definitely all want Nick. Chris, are you shocked that an Andy Reid-led team is this terribly coached and frankly unprepared for games this season? It's a good question, Chris, and you frame it that way. I mean, I don't know that they've. I don't know if they've have looked terribly uncoached. I don't know, or terribly coached. I don't know if I'm going to grant that part of the premise. I get it, and you want to make that argument. I would hear it. I mean, there's a legitimacy to it, but I think there's two pieces of it for sure, and one is that, I think Andy Reid, and I mentioned this on 810 earlier today, I think Andy Reid delegates a lot more at this point in his career than probably people realize, and certainly more than he did 5 or 10 years ago. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, I think you have to. But when you do that, when you get away from a little maybe of the micromanagement that Andy Reid's had in the past, you're going to rely more and more on your assistants. And if your assistants don't step up and don't keep things fresh and don't maybe coach and manage and challenge the players the best way, then you're going to get some of the results that you have probably seen this season. So are there some of those things propping up with the Chiefs now? Yes, that's probably the case. And, and hey, no head coach. I mean, the best head coaches, I think these days, for the most part, are CEOs. There's too much for coaches to be micromanagers. So that means that you do rely on your assistants. And has this been a just poorly coached year from a scheme standpoint, from a play call standpoint? I'm with Andy from a couple of weeks ago, and maybe Matt Nagy, I think, was maybe the one that really addressed it more, that, there's not really necessarily an offensive scheme problem, but there's some elements. I mean, the Chiefs' offensive blocking schemes are not fresh. They're not crisp. That's on the offensive line coaching. Hey, are they coaching? They can be. And can they be personnel? Can they be just talent? Sure. But I mean, again, I think that, and this is not really necessarily a whole knock on Connor Embry, because I think he's actually managed his group pretty well, that receiver group. I mean, he's coached them from some really difficult positions the last couple of years with the injury wise, and even this year with injuries and suspensions and juggling that group. I mean, I think he's done a reasonable job, but when it comes down to the nitpick, and I mean, I do say, I've said this before, I will say it again, and I still claim this, that if you want to be a superstar NFL player, if you just simply want to be a better NFL player, you're not going to get better with the team for the most part from, any of the time that you spend with the team. When you are with the team and the coaches have so little time with these players now, they're spending everything on game planning. They're spending everything on putting in the offense and putting in the defense and doing all of this. They are not coaching and do not have the time to give you skills. You got to do that on your own. That's why there's tight end university. That's why there's O-line masterminds. There's probably some for programs out there for corners and linebackers that I don't know about. But and if not, there should be, because that's the only way you're going to get better. The only way that you're going to get better is during the offseason working on your own. Tyreek Hill got better because he went and worked with Keith Williams every offseason at the beginning of his career. And that's what made him better. He didn't learn to be able to continue to run through his routes and to run through turns and to get crisper at all route running because he was coached great by David Culley was here when he got here. That wasn't it. I mean, David Culley's job was to teach Tyreek Hill the offense and teach him how to fit in with with the scheme and all of that stuff. He didn't have time to teach Tyreek Hill moves. Tyreek had to go learn that on his own, and that's why he became the player that he was. That's the same thing with every player on this team, every player in the NFL. If you want to get better, you're going to get better during the offseason. Connor Embry is not the guy that's there to give you a game. You got to go put that together on your own. And hey, if you don't put the time in the offseason, it's probably going to show. And that's where I think, that's if there's accountability on everybody, you can't put the accountability on the players to be able to develop themselves and to be able to perform at times. So, I mean, hey, mistakes when it comes to penalties, execution. I mean, there's a few of these things that you can certainly put on coaches. And if guys are confused, lost, not following the scheme and not understanding their responsibilities, those are on coaching. But I think it's a little bit of everybody. And to your point, Chris, I mean, I think there's certainly some things that Andy has probably delegated that's not getting done the way that maybe he once had it done, or maybe once he expected it to be done. And that's why I do think that there's probably going to be some changes this offseason. I think there has to be. I mean, it's one thing to run it back with a team coming off back-to-back Super Bowls and going for three-peats and coming off a championship. Running it back with a team that's 6-7, goes 8-9, 9-8, 10-6. I mean, if that's not your expectation, you need to do things a little bit differently. Infopocalypse. Would Bossa or McDonald possibly play Tranquil or Chanel's next role next year if one or both of them are no longer on the team? Yeah, I think they're both of them would be in that kind of category. Infopocalypse. We haven't seen a lot of either one of them, and the question about probably both of them, Bossa would be the question to me is he big enough to be at least a part-time linebacker? I mean, he is a tweener. That's the concern with him coming in. Thought that probably his playing defense was going to be a learning role this year, probably a little bit of a development physically role. I'll be really interested to see what the Chiefs ask of him this offseason and what he chooses to do this offseason, whether it's to bulk up a little bit more to play linebacker. Could they slim him down and turn him to safety? I mean, that's always a possibility, but they certainly seem to think of him as a linebacker. So I do. I mean, I think that he would be a pretty good potential replacement for Tranquil. I think that would be the most likely fit. Chanel, man, I mean, I like Leo. I think there's going to be a team out there that's going to really like Leo too, and think that they're going to be able to offer him more snaps and more money than the Chiefs will. And so therefore you may lose both those guys. And if that's the case, the Chiefs are going to have a real workaround. What I don't know about Cooper McDonald is if he is more of a special teams guy only and maybe a Jack Cochran replacement, a guy that can really be a really good player for you on special teams and maybe a backup at all of the linebacker spots in case you need it. I don't know. Let's see. I mean, we need to see more. Hopefully we'll get to see more maybe from him at the end of the season. I mean, certainly at least in one game, I would expect that if the Chiefs are out of it by week 18, that we'll see a lot of the younger guys get to play. We'll get to see him a little bit more, but I was really impressed with Cooper McDonald. I mean, he was one of the guys that I thought stood out the most during training camp. It was not a surprise when he made the 53. So I expected him to. I thought that he would. So let's see. But I do think Infopocalypse, that being said, I do think that if those guys were two of your starters next year, I would probably I'd be a little concerned, because at least then your linebacker group would be very unproven. But I do think there's a chance that you don't have Tranquil and Chanel on this team next year. So somebody's going to be playing those spots. Your follow-up, Infopocalypse, who plays right tackle next week, Moore or Polay? Really good question, because some of the same logic about why Wanye was starting at left tackle still applies in this case. And Andy Reid pointed to two things when he would explain why they ended up starting Wanye at that spot. And one was matchup. So, I think that for the most part, I think it was a pick your poison. It didn't really matter for the most part who you were starting where. That was going to be a tough assignment either way. A little bit different case with the Chargers this week. I don't think it's going to be as a tough assignment on either side as it was against the Texans. That's just a team with a couple of really good edge rushers. But then it came down to player comfort. Wanye, no doubt, much more comfortable on the left side than the right, much more experience there. The same is true with Pelé. Now, even though the Chiefs have been working him mainly at right tackle, he's played more left tackle in his life. So I think he's probably more comfortable there. Right is just picking things up still a little bit more. Remember, I mean, if the Chiefs are prepping for a kind of a peek ahead at 2026 and getting guys in their spots, Jalen Moore is your starting right tackle next year. So do you go ahead and keep Jalen Moore there just so that he's working in the spot where he'll be next year? I can see that. So if Jawan Taylor is back this week, then I would expect Jalen Moore to start on the left side. But it would not surprise me at all if they stuck with if it's Pole and Jalen Moore. I think Pole would be on the left side and Moore would be on the right, would be my guess. Chief 94 Schefter says KC doesn't expect changes to the coaching staff at the bare minimum. I mean, I think that's certainly what you would say right now. I mean, you don't want guys going into the final month of the season with the sickle hanging over their heads. I mean, you want them to be able to go out and do their thing. And changes the coaching staff doesn't necessarily mean that guys are going to want to stay. I mean, there may be some coaches that getting that chance to move up or different roles or different places. Maybe some guys are going to retire. I don't know. I mean, I think that would certainly be a distinct possibility. But like I said earlier, I mean, I would be really surprised if there weren't some changes. Simply because, and I say it's not you said if I was getting the rest of your question, I'll bring up the full one at the end there. Would it surprise me if Dave Toub got forced out? Yes, I think Dave Toub, the only thing I could see Dave Toub doing would be retiring. I mean, he's been doing this for a long, long time. I don't necessarily think that he's ready to retire. But hey, you've got a kicker that's struggling. You've had some special teams issues this year. How much of that is on Dave Toub? I mean, I get if you want to say it's all on Dave Toub, sure, legitimately. Well, then Matt Rice is on Dave Toub too, and that's been going really, really well. So I wouldn't necessarily be in the position of trying to move on from Dave Toub because I would hazard to guess the chances are that your next special teams coordinator is going to be worse than Dave Toub. That's how good Dave Toub is. So I don't know. I mean, I hate to be the, I don't want to encroach Nick's territory on Andy Heck, but that's the one area that I don't necessarily think that it's underperforming players, but it's an underperforming position group. Those five have not been as good as they are individually. And the Chiefs are really high on their really top 6, 7, 8 offensive linemen. I mean, you go down to, I mean, right now, next year, this line would look like, Josh Simmons at left tackle, then Kingsley, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Jalen Moore, Asa Pillay right now would project as your swing tackle, Hunter Norzad, your interior guy. There's some different options there, but they like what they have. They like their depth. So why aren't they performing better? Well, I do think that their offensive blocking schemes are a tad retrograde. So that's where I think that it's either you need to change things up scheme wise, offensive line wise, or go a different direction. So we'll see what happens. And once again, I mean, and changes on the staff as far as maybe guys going to different positions and position groups. I mean, if you found a way to get, Todd Pinkston as your wide receivers coach, great. Maybe get a spot for Connor Embry in a different spot. Maybe you move him to running backs. I think they probably could really use an advanced running backs coach too, and an experienced running backs coach. Connor Embry's a great football mind. Maybe there's some other spots. Hey, I've always thought there was a possibility Tom Melvin may retire when Travis Kelce goes out. So if Travis retires, does Tom Melvin leave? Maybe there's a spot for Connor Embry. I mean, there's some things that you could do, to adjust the staff without necessarily a lot of guys leaving, but you could still shuffle some positions and maybe bring in some fresh voices. And I think that's definitely something that the Chiefs definitely need. Mitchell, Wanya Moore's time in KC is finally over, right? Wouldn't necessarily think so. I mean, he is. I mean, unless my math is off, he's got one more year under his rookie contract. Now, this injury, it's going to be a six. This would typically be a 6 to 9 month kind of recovery, assuming it's what we think that it is. So, I mean, you're at the point now where knee injuries, even if it's not an ACL, maybe it's a PCL. That alone, would still be in like the 6 to 9 month range. That's putting you in close of maybe not being ready for the beginning of the season. So, I mean, and that's why, with injured players and the rookie contracts and everything, I don't think the Chiefs are getting you're not getting let's put it this way. You're not getting a injury settlement deal when a guy's still got some money due on his contract. So, Wanye's not walking away without all of his money. I wouldn't he got hurt playing. So no player is walking away without all their money. So he's going to get paid for that. So he's going to be under contract. He's going to be around next year. Could he start on non-football injury, or excuse me, PUP list would be the list that would start on? Entirely possible. And as a result, I mean, there's entirely possibility that Wanye comes back and plays for this team some point next year. I think, like I said, I think it would probably be a real stretch if that injury is severe as it looks like, and the Chiefs have kind of alluded to. I think that would be tough, but to see him at the beginning of the season. But I don't know if you're completely done with him yet, Mitchell. I think he'll probably still be around next year. Chris followed Big Red since his first year in Philly in '99. KC this season is between the 05 and 12 Eagles seasons. There is a non-zero chance that Andy resigns next month. I put it at 40. You, that's way too high for me, Chris. I mean, there are reasons why I suppose I could probably make that case and understand why. Maybe he'd be ready to walk away. I'm just not sold that he is ready to walk away. I think he still enjoys what he's doing. I think that I don't think he wants to go out like this for sure. That's one thing. And we've had this conversation with Andy at the training camp, and one of the things that it's been said is that he's heard from his compadres who've retired and reached out and talked to some of them about, when do you know it's time to hang them up and to walk away? And what he hears back is, why would you walk away when you've got your quarterback? So, yeah, I find it hard to believe that Andy Reid would walk away from this point in Patrick Mahomes' career, especially after a season like this. I mean, unless Andy feels like he's lost the team. And I'll tell you, from being in that locker room, I do not think he's lost this team. I don't think that's the case at all. So I would put it a lot lower than that. I'd put it in the single digits, Chris, but that's just me. Jimmy's, who wins the election in 4 weeks? Andy Biden. I fell for that one, Jimmy's. I love you too, man. John, if Andy comes out of this season without making significant changes to his coaching staff, should that not be enough to call for an end to his time in KC? I knew we were going to get to the questions about, Andy and being fired, and I love you all. But there is literally right now, I mean, if I'm Clark Hunt, there's almost nothing Andy Reid could do to this offseason that would convince me that it's time for the end of Andy Reid's time in Kansas City. This guy has done a lot for you. He has done it all. And he took you to 3 straight Super Bowls, and he's less than a year away from that. It's not like Andy Reid's just fallen off the face of the earth and doesn't know what he's doing anymore. And there's legitimacy to everything that he said, that this team is literally 3 or 4 plays away. Well, 4. This team's 4 plays away legitimately from being 10-3 at this point. I mean, this one thing that Brett Veach has always said, and I'll give him credit for this because I think you're going to hear it from him during the offseason. The next time we hear from him, I think you're going to hear it from him. He said it last year when they were 15-2. He said it, in the offseason, looking back at last year at 15-2 and looking ahead to this year. You're never as good as you think you are, and you're never as bad as you think you are. So, I mean, the Chiefs don't think that they're 6-7 bad. And they feel like the talent is better than that. They feel like that their coaching staff is better than that. They feel like that their front office is better than that. And I mean, again, to me, Andy Reid's done enough that he deserves a mulligan. And I know I've heard from some people in the last, 48, 72 hours who say, hey, his mulligans were the last 3 years, that the offense was subpar in 22, 20, or 23, 24, now 25. Yeah, but, part of this too is, if you remember, is in 23, everybody was talking about, and even last year too. I mean, look at the injuries that this team had. I mean, the fact that they were able to cobble together the offense that they had last year was a miracle. 23 was a little different. 23 was the year of the bad luck. I mean, you talk about this year being bad luck. I mean, 23 was the year that Patrick Mahomes had 7 passes that were a 75% chance of completion that turned into interceptions. And a couple of them turned into touchdowns for the other team. I mean, that was just crazy. And by weight in mind, they still won the Super Bowl in 23. So, I don't know. When I said that, you can't get rid of Andy Reid after 1 down year. And I had somebody say this was 3 down years. You cannot call a year in which you go to a Super Bowl and another one in which you won the Super Bowl down years. You will never win that argument with me. Just not the case. So, it's a down year. There's no doubt about it. I don't know if I can call it a bad. It's a disappointing year for sure. And if your expectations, and with this team and with a quarterback like Mahomes, you want to call it a bad year, no problem. Especially if they don't win 3 or more games at least. Even like 9-8, I think you could probably get away with calling it a bad year. 10 wins. 10 wins is questionably calling it a bad year. If they don't get to 500, definitely call it a bad year. I'm okay with that. Gosh, we're talking about Elvis Gerbach. Come on. But there's just no way. If you're calling for Andy Reid's head, honestly, if you're calling for Brett Veach's head, bless your hearts. Just take a step back and look at the big picture, because, once again, you're the Chiefs. There are at least 29, maybe 30 fan bases that would love to be in your place right now. Absolutely love it. If your team, there are teams that if they had 3 Super Bowls right now, they'd be, Buffalo right now. If Sean McDermott had 3 Super Bowls, they'd already have the statue up. There are absolutely places where their head coach has won them 3 Super Bowls in 6 years. They would be worshipped. And they probably would have a couple of, since they're not Andy Reid, they'd probably have a couple of Coach of the Year awards, by the way. I don't get it. And hey, I understand, hey, maybe this is the beginning of the end. Maybe it is going to be. I know I had someone point out that this is looking a lot like 2011 Philadelphia right now, and 2012 turned out worse. 2011 Philadelphia didn't have Patrick Mahomes as quarterback. So I feel like 2012 Eagles is not going to be the 2026 Chiefs. If I'm wrong, then you're right. Then you probably need to have the conversation about, hey, you have back-to-back years of going the wrong way. Andy might leave on his own. You won't have to fire him. He'd probably say, okay, it's no longer working. I'm done. But and I get it. I'll clarify, you're talking about coming out with no coaching changes. And I apologize, John. I completely and totally jumped on your question because I knew it was going to come from some direction, and I'm not jumping on your question. I don't really mean to, because you're saying if with him talking about no coaching changes. If I'm Clark Hunt, I may go to Andy Reid and say, hey, wait a minute, coach. Okay, what are you going to do differently this offseason after this year? And if Andy Reid says not a darn thing, we're rolling with it. If I'm Clark Hunt, I'm probably saying, are you sure that's the best thing to do? I mean, let's take a deep thought here. Let's take the look at the big picture. And I may ask Andy Reid to explain why he wants to keep things that way. But ultimately, you hired the man to do the job. And he's done the job incredibly well for 12, 13 seasons. So if anyone's going to get the rope that they deserve, Andy Reid gets that. So if he wants to come back and roll it back next year, run it back with everybody, I don't necessarily think it's a great idea, but I do think that he has deserved that consideration. And I get it. I mean, this is a little bit different from what I was, saying earlier today in some ways. I mean, I admit it that, if you're talking about running your business the best way possible, yeah, you should be making some changes. If you make some changes, it's certainly going to help you at the box office. There's going to be your fans who are like, okay, at least this team is caring because they're trying to get better. They're making some changes here. But at the same time, I mean, and hey, does loyalty play into it? Sure, absolutely. If you can't be loyal to Andy Reid, I mean, Andy Reid's a loyal guy too. He's been loyal to you. I mean, he's been loyal to his players, been loyal to coaches, sometimes to a fault. But the fault has also gotten you 3 Super Bowls. So, that's why. And this, I know there's probably some considerations to say, hey, you're too close to the situation. I mean, honestly, I'm not close to Andy Reid at all. I mean, we're not friends. We don't hang out together or anything like this. I'm not intimidated by Andy Reid. I mean, I respect him because of the way he's handled some things. There's things that he does that I really don't like. Some of those things I talk about, some of them I don't, but we're not buds or anything. I mean, I try to be as objective as I can. I try to tell you what I hear. To me, if you're going to fire a coach, you're firing a coach because the product on the field is bad. The product inside the building is bad, and people aren't doing their best because of the coach. That is, none of those things are true in Kansas City. Is the product bad? Okay, it's been rough this year. Has this been a terrible team? No, it's not. This team is not the Titans. This team is not the Raiders. It's not the Saints. It's not the Cleveland Browns. I mean, at this point, this team is not that far removed from being the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. Teams have bad seasons, and this year in the NFL has been the weirdest of them all. So this year of all years, I think, is the year that I'm definitely taking the pedal off a little bit and just saying, I don't even know what's going on this year. So, like I said, John, I apologize for using your question as my jumping off point. I do. I mean, I think, like I said, I think there's if Andy Reid came back into Clark Hunt and said, no, I'm not making any coaching changes this year, I'd ask him to defend that. But ultimately, it would be his call to me. I hired him to do the job. And I'm going to let him do the job. That's been the case all these years, and it's worked out pretty well for you. So I don't think I would change that strategy. There you go. This is how the podcast and the live stream ends up being 2 hours when Nick's not around. I don't know that you need Jeremiah Love, but I get you. The NFL siren. It's Matt Nagy calling the plays, correct? This is why I always hesitate when we talk about this, because I think you could safely say that, yes, Matt Nagy is calling the plays. But again, in Kansas City, with an Andy Reid offense and the way things are structured, there's not a lot of calling to it. I mean, the Chiefs know what they're going to call almost to a T in every situation. I mean, they've got the play. You've seen the play sheet, you know that. And if you haven't been able to see that, you can't see the details of it, but the details of it, there's a situation on there for every single play. I mean, obviously there's the opening script. You got 15, 20 plays there that you're going to run on first and second down to begin the game. Then you've got third down plays. You've got third and short, third and medium, third and long. You've got different options based on the hash mark that you're on. Time of the game. You've got 4-minute plays, when you're trying to run a 4-minute offense. You got 2-minute plays for a 2-minute offense. You got your fourth down plays. You're going to have a handful of specialty plays, second down and long situations. You've got game scenarios. So 1-minute plays. You've got 8-minute plays. Different sections all over across that play sheet. And they've met on Friday and Saturday to go through and identify what they want to call in specific situations. Probably not going to call anything that they haven't worked on that week. Usually anything that they've worked on the week that they like is on the play sheet. probably about 200 plays on that play sheet altogether in different spots. So it doesn't mean that there's some plays on that sheet that they haven't worked on. Maybe it's because they just regularly work on them. And there's some things that may go all the way back to training camp. It's like, hey, they ran that thing 6 times in camp. So, they didn't have to run it all season until they needed it. So Matt Nagy knows pretty much what he's going to call in every situation based on the sheet. If he calls a play that Andy Reid doesn't like, Andy Reid can overrule it immediately, and he will, and he does. But yeah, if you watch the game pretty closely, you'll see that, Andy Reid's not talking a lot on that headset during the game. Matt Nagy is, because Matt Nagy's calling the plays into the quarterback. It's not like it used to be where, there was certainly a time where Andy Reid was calling the plays and then the offensive coordinator was calling them into the quarterback. They don't do that anymore. Now it's Matt Nagy calls the play into the quarterback. Hey, like I said, Andy Reid can overrule and say, wait a minute, nope, I don't like that. And maybe they go to something else. But by and large, all these guys, Nagy, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, they've been meeting the last couple of days before a game. They've gone through the game plan, and Mahomes has said and told them, hey, yeah, I like this here. Nope, don't like this here. I feel comfortable with that play. Hey, what about this? Can we run that in this situation? They've gone through a lot of those. And obviously, you've seen Wasp. Every once in a while, they're just going to come to things that they like and run them when they need to if they get desperate. Alex, what are the scenarios in which the Chiefs can make the playoffs? What if the Texans lose 3 and the Colts? Okay, Alex, there's some really remote scenarios. I'm going to go through the easiest one because the others involve a lot more moving pieces. But the easiest scenario for the Chiefs to make it to the playoffs is this. And I got to pull up my schedule here for the Chargers, because they're the tricky one. What the Chiefs would need is that they need to beat the Chargers. They need the Chargers to lose to either the Cowboys or the Texans, and they need the Broncos to beat the Chargers. If they do that and the Chiefs win out, then I believe they're completely in. The only other thing I think that they would need at that point to ensure that they get in, I'm trying to remember, I think they may also need the Colts. Looking at that. They would also need the Colts to lose 2 games. So they need to get into that tie with the Colts so that they could win the tiebreaker. They need to be able to win the tiebreakers because the Chargers are 3 games in front of them. So the Chargers... the Chiefs need to catch the Chargers. So the Chargers need to lose 3 games. But the Chargers can't necessarily... the Chargers lose 4 games, great. But if the Chargers were to lose their next 3 games, including to the Cowboys and to did I say the Texans? Is that right? Yeah, Cowboys and the Texans. If the Chargers were to win those 2 games and beat the Broncos, that doesn't work for the Chiefs. The Chiefs need them to lose to the Broncos in Week 18, which is one of the reasons why you're probably talking about this, and it's like, okay, that's not going to happen. If the Broncos, I feel like even if the Broncos had to win in Week 18 to get the number 1 seed and hope that the Patriots lost or something, but they knew that if they lost, the Chiefs were knocked out of the playoffs for sure. I'm thinking that the Broncos are going to find a way to lose that game. So, if they've got the Chiefs in their hands and their destiny in their hands, I think they're taking care of that for the Chiefs. So, there's other scenarios, but those scenarios, one, if the Chargers win the wrong games, if the Colts don't lose 3 games, then you're talking about some other teams losing 4 games. There's some scenarios where the Chiefs could lose a game, as long as they don't lose to the Chargers, as long as they don't lose to the Broncos. There's some scenarios where they could probably lose to the Texans, or excuse me, to the Titans, rather. I don't think they can afford to lose to the Raiders. There's probably some obscure scenarios where they lose to the Titans and the Colts lose 4 games and the Chargers, the Chiefs have to beat the Chargers. There's almost no way it seems like the Chiefs can get in without beating the Chargers. So maybe they win that when the Chargers lose all 3 of their games. There's some scenarios where maybe the Chiefs can afford another loss, but Essentially not. I mean, they need to beat the Chargers. They need the Chargers to beat the Broncos, and they need the Colts to lose. So a couple of games. So it's not easy. It's not this. That's why I think I saw the numbers. Even if the Chiefs win out and win all of 4 of their last 4 games, their playoff percentage is still like only goes to 70%. They need help. So it's not impossible. It's just not super likely. And I mean, especially if you're doubtful of the Chiefs being able to win 4 straight games in a row, since that has not been something that they've been able to do this year. Chris, and I still wish I knew why StreamYard was putting up all of your like usernames instead of your actual names like it used to. I'm assuming there's some sort of button that I just have not been able to find in the settings. So I'm gonna have to figure out what they did to us there. But Chris, NFL, see, I just know Chris is one of our usuals and one of our regulars, so I know it's Chris and not C2. So NFL, not Chiefs question. Any chance there's more pressure for the league to hire full-time referees after this season's poor performance across crews and reviews across the entire league? I sincerely doubt it. I mean, one, I have to go back and look at when the last referee contract was on CBA. I can't remember how long that runs, but as long as that runs, you're not going to see any changes. And part of, I mean, again, part of it is that in order, and this, I get it. I mean, if you're the NFL, you make enough money, you should be able to pay a bunch of referees enough money that they don't have to go out and have other jobs. Most of them, a lot of them have jobs that pay them a lot more than they make as referees. So I'm trying to do the math here off the top of my head. So I think the NFL has about 125, give or take, referees. I mean, if you paid them all $1 million a year, it's $125 million. It's a drop in the bucket. I mean, yes, the NFL should and be willing to do that. Is it worth the money? I mean, one, I don't think that we're going to get much of a better product. I mean, I think that the just some of the problems that we have with officiating could probably be corrected by just straightening out some of the things that they're trying to do with replay assist. Replay assist is actually a really good idea. It is just implemented terribly and awfully. There are so many things about that just need to be streamlined and cleaned up. And it will probably get better over the years when you get younger referees who, have used it and, are not maybe as restricted against it, or just, not as opposed to it as much. But, a part of it too is that, I mean, no matter how hard you work as a referee and how hard you're watching, these guys are just simply moving too fast for you to be able to get everything right. And there's not enough of you with the action on the field to get everything right. So I get, why the referees are opposed to it, because they would like to be able to have their outside careers and their outside lives. I mean, they can't be referees forever. They shouldn't be. I mean, I know there's a reputation about officials and being fat and out of shape and old, but the reality of it is that you can't be out of shape and be a referee anymore. I mean, there's not many of those guys. And two, they don't have guys that are refereeing into their 60s and 70s anymore. I mean, they can't do that. I mean, they can't make it that far anymore. So I think some of that is changing. And like I said, if you want to have professional referees that, grow up from, they go through the high school, youth sports ranks is where they start, and then they get to high school, and now they get to college. I mean, yeah, if you want them to be full-time, you need to be paying them for all that experience that they're bringing to the table. And if you want them to be dedicated to their careers and willing to do that full-time, I mean, let's be honest, you need to make sure that you're taking care of their retirement. I mean, you want to be able to retire. They need to be just like the players. I mean, you need to be able to make sure that for the 15, 20 years tops, I think, we're not going to see a lot of guys, refereeing 30 years anymore. I mean, I don't think that's really going to happen much. I mean, you're going to see much shorter careers going forward. And so if you're going to do that, you're going to pay them full time. I mean, if you're asking them to give up their careers and other things, I mean, yeah, you're going to have to pay them even a lot more. So now if you're the NFL, and I get it, the NFL is allergic to paying more money. So if they had to pay $250, $500 million to their referees, they're probably not going to do it. They're going to push back against it. So I don't know if the NFL is ever going to be willing to put up enough money to do it. I don't even know if I think they view it as diminishing returns. I feel like it's that they feel like officiating is that it's probably about 90% as good as it can get, and it's not worth paying to get that extra maybe 98, 99% accurate. I don't even know. Maybe it's not even possible to do that. I mean, like I said, these players are just simply too fast. The game is too fast that you're never going to be able to officiate it the way that it needs to be officiated, in an HD world. I mean, you go back and look at it, old plays and everything like that in the old days, and we would argue about things in replays. You couldn't see things that happened, and back in 1985 with a television camera back then. We didn't know what was going on. Nowadays, you can literally see whether or not the guy's got his toe down on the exact blade of grass to be down. Referees can't possibly see those kind of things, and they're going to miss holding calls. They're going to miss all of these things. I don't know a good way to clean all that stuff up, Chris. If I knew a way, I would tell you, but that's my long answer. Dang it. Once again, Nick's going to be mad at me for that one. I don't think they're ever going to get there. I just don't think it's going to happen. Weston, do you think the front office is going to have some self-evaluation on certain players being on the roster going into 26? Esapole, Nico Remigio, for the example, i.e., yes and no. Are they? I've asked this about Red Beach before about, how much they look back at past decisions and drafts and everything, as far as, whether those were the right moves and how they worked out. And they do that. But, I think, hey, if they had to redo it over again, do they keep Esapole on the roster? I think if they knew they were going to get him back, they may still do the same thing. But if they had known that he wasn't going to clear waivers, maybe they do hold on to him. Is there somebody else that they let go? Remember Nico, one of the biggest reasons why Nico made this team is simply because they did not and do not have anybody else that they trust to receive punts other than Xavier Worthy. And they did not and do not want Xavier Worthy returning punts, exposing himself to hits and to injuries. And certainly when they lost, Xavier Worthy at one point in the season, they would have had nobody with any experience returning punts. Is that a flaw in just roster building? To a certain degree. Do they have some guys that maybe could do it? Yes, but I tell you what, I've seen some guys catch punts, and I said this before the game the other day. They had Brashard Smith, and I'm a huge Brashard Smith fan. They had Brashard Smith and Xavier Worthy out there catching punts pregame, and I said, based on that alone, Xavier Worthy should be the punt returner, and he should fair catch every kick. Of course, I had somebody who told me that it was a good thing I wasn't the coach, because I'd be terrible and I'd be fired. So, once again, your mileage may vary. But no, they'll do the reevaluation. But again, Weston, you're talking about, to a degree, even if Esapole plays himself into being more than that, maybe he can become more than that. Developmental players at the bottom of the roster. They're ones that you love to get right. And hey, if you get them right and they're right for another team, but you got the other decisions for you right. Hey, if the Chiefs, they waived Esapole. If Esapole had gone on to be a star with the Jets and they kept Cooper McDonald, and Cooper McDonald turns into Leo Chanel, Chiefs would have been, hey, we got both those right. Would we love to have kept Esa? Sure, but got both those players right. Maybe you want to keep both of them. Maybe you need to try and find a way to do that. But yeah, they'll look at that. And obviously, the Chiefs, they're going forward. They're going to have to continue to get younger and cheaper. And so hitting on those undrafted guys and making something out of them is something they're going to have to do, because they got still a lot of money tied up in some big name players, and they've got a year or two of getting out from under some contracts as well. So, Alex said the Chiefs lose 2 more games. I don't want us to, but if the Chiefs do, does that draft position get the Chiefs to an elite draft pick? Let me look at, 2 more games. I guess you're thinking it's possible. I should bring up one of the simulators that could get me, final 17 games. I'm looking at the conference standings right now and kind of where I think that 2 more losses would put the Chiefs. I mean, if they finish 8-9, let's say that it is where they finish. Cincinnati is probably going to be behind you. You're going to probably, if Baltimore finished there too, you win that tiebreaker. So Baltimore would actually get the better pick. Miami's probably going to, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think there's like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. My quick thought process and guess would be that if the Chiefs finished 8-9, they would probably be around the 15th pick. And at the 15th pick, you would be getting a first round player. You'd be getting a guy that you absolutely have a first round draft pick on. Most teams, like we talked about, before, usually 15 to 20 players. Sometimes it's 13 if it's a bad year. This one might be an interesting one because my concern with this year's draft is that there's not going to be many, if any, top 15 quarterbacks, and the Chiefs don't need a quarterback. So this is a year where you would love for there to be as many first round quarterbacks that are going in the top 15 as possible. Because that would just take up the draft picks of players that you want. That would mean that some defensive linemen and corners are dropping back. And so now you can maybe get some of the things that you need. And if the Chiefs are drafting in the top 15, I'd just put the chance of them taking a defensive lineman at like 98%. That would be the most obvious one. It also gives you the flexibility that if you want to move back a little bit to pick up some more draft resources, because the Chiefs could use some more picks. If you can find a way to move back and stay in the top 20. Now, hey, 8-9 might also get them like 18th, 19th, or 20th. They could end up a little bit further back. So, you might be one of the first teams out, or, one of the first 3 or 4 teams out. So maybe you're going to be in the late teens now. At this point, I think you'd safely say that the Chiefs are probably, I guess I'm doing my math a little off there. You're going to have top 18 teams are going to be teams left out of the playoffs. So, if you're the last team out, 18 would be where you would be. The Chiefs will probably, I think, be between 15 and 18 would be the guess. I can't see them. I don't think the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs. So let's just say that they're not going to be 19th or later. Yes, between 15 and 18, you're going to get at least a player that you have a first round grade on. The Chiefs still don't have a lot of draft capital to move up if there's somebody that they really, really like, but you can get a stud in the top 15, especially if your scouting department does their job. So, Rick, I'm stunned that the Phillip Rivers is coming back. It just sounds crazy, especially if it ends up pushing back his Hall of Fame clock. That's maybe, I don't know. Maybe he's okay with that. Maybe he wants that. Maybe they think this will add to his resume. I don't know. Brian, Andy Reid does not suck, man. Come on, you're better than that, Brian. You're better than that. Oh crap! And brother Rick, I'm doing all the things wrong on the live stream tonight. I saw this in I think it was. Was I doing my Andy Reid rant? I don't think I was. I think it was after that. Yes, dang it. I actually had on my list today to call about BJ Thompson because I haven't heard what he's up to yet. So, Rick, I'm doing it in red Sharpie on my envelope of notes. I am literally writing down. Oops. Oh, we're just really, really going professional on the podcast, on the live stream tonight, folks. There you go. I'm having a great day, as you can tell. All right, so BJ Thompson. I'm writing it down, and you're getting that update next week, brother Rick. I promise you. You might even get it in the comment section. I'm going to try and get that for you as soon as I can. Bob Sutton fired after the 2018 season, so there have been coaches fired. Will we see some of the rookies see some playing time? Bob Sutton, remember too, that was probably a year too late. Chiefs fans were calling for Bob Sutton after 2017, maybe a little bit after 2016, but it got really hot after 2017. And it felt like that if if Steve Spagnuolo wanted to coach in 2018, he would have been the defensive coordinator that year, and they probably would have walked away from Bob Sutton. But the fact that Spags did not probably got Bob Sutton another year. So it can happen. I mean, that was not a team that missed the playoffs. It was a playoff team that, let go of its defensive coordinator. So I'm not convinced that there won't be any coaching changes. But I do understand why that you would say that right now, because like I said, you don't want your coaching staff thinking that, the hammer's getting ready to fall down on them. But will we see some Chiefs playing time? I mean, I think I'll be interested to see this week. I mean, if the Chiefs make any adjustments this week to getting some of the younger guys some playing time, I would not understand in any circumstances why you don't give the ball a little bit more to Brashard Smith in these last 4 games, just to give him some experience and see what he can do. I don't think there's anything that he can do to harm your team at this point. You're probably pretty much playing your offensive line youth. Would love to see Hunter Norzad get some time. As soon as you're eliminated, you're probably playing a few more rookies than you would otherwise. At this point, I mean, I want to see Jalen Royals get some opportunities. That's a guy that I think needs some time. Once again, you're not really worried about. You'd like to win some games, but I think you should be more worried about development at this point. I mean, let's face it. The Chiefs' philosophy should be that even if they made the playoffs right now, they're not in shape to make a playoff run. They've got just too many guys that are banged up. Their quarterback is limping around a little bit. He's got enough dings and everything like that. And I think that in order to win 4 more games, I mean, it's like a demolition derby, with Patrick Mahomes. He might be able to get you 4 more wins, but how damaged is he going to be at the end of it? Is he going to be healthy enough to get you 4 more wins after that for a Super Bowl win on 3 road games in a row, most likely? I just don't see it. So I hope so. Maybe we'll get an insight on Wednesday, what they're going to be doing. But I'd love to see, especially this year's draft picks, get more playing time. Jaden Hicks, I just still don't understand why he's not getting as much playing time. But yeah, brother Rick, appreciate the super chat. I think that at some point in this process, you are going to see a lot more of the young guys get some snaps in the next coming weeks. Maybe it'll start this week, but I think as soon as the Chiefs are officially eliminated, probably for real. So maybe week 17 and 18 might be when you really start to see it. So let's see where we're going to go to next. Oh, go bleed red Arrowhead. If the offense just needs some running back up for 26 and it is pretty much set, can you see them just running this train wreck back? I mean, I think there's going to be some significant turnover in the running back room. And I mean, and I say that even though I think that you could actually bring back Kareem Hunt. I mean, Kareem Hunt's been a really effective short yardage back. That's all he needs to be. Doesn't need to be a guy getting 200 carries a year, but as a short yardage back, I'm not as much of enamored with him as a third down back, because even though he can block, he's never been the world's greatest pass catcher, especially as like a screen guy and everything. He worked himself up into being a good pass catcher, but I think at this point in his career, he's kind of back down to, being just a little below average as a pass catcher. So that he wouldn't be my ideal third down back every down, but third and running situations. Yeah. I mean, and if you just want to go throw him out there with the idea that you're not going to have a lot of designed runs for him or designed throws for him, and that mostly if he catches the ball, it's going to be as like an escape valve type thing on third downs. I could see that, because I mean, just the threat of him running and his ability to block. I mean, I like all of that. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco is going to be a free agent, and I think there's a team that would probably take a chance on him. I think he could probably use a change of scenery and maybe a better offensive fit. So, I mean, if that's the case, I mean, I doubt Elijah Mitchell is back. That experiment did not seem to go well. Brashard Smith will be around. I know there's been some speculation that maybe he moves to wide receiver. I've Not seen any evidence of that to this point, but that's always a possibility. But I think you're going to see the Chiefs invest a couple. I think you're going to go into free agency again. I think they're going to do a draft pick, at least an undrafted free agent or two. I mean, they're going to do something. I mean, and honestly, I think they could use a higher draft pick. I'm not saying first round running back, but if it was a day 2 or an early day 3 running back pick, I that's exactly kind of thing that they need, because they need a running back with some juice. And you can find running backs, sure, in the 7th round or undrafted. You can find speed, you can find size, you can find good hands. It's rare to find all 3. So that's the problem, is that you wait until late on day 3 for a running back, you're generally going to get somebody who is a flawed product. There's something that they're missing. So that would be my only concern. In this team, in this offense, it needs some electricity in the backfield. John, do you feel that inability to develop and key position groups, O-line particular, but others as well, has caused a domino effect that have overspend and then not have money for positions of need? I mean, that definitely always happens. I mean, but that said, I mean, the Chiefs right now, they don't have a ton of, outside players making a ton of money. I mean, they're getting some off the books. I mean, Juwan is one of the last ones. So, not having a tackle and having to spend all that money on Juwan Taylor, that was a development and drafting mishap. You needed to avoid that. A lot of the guys that they've paid obviously have been guys that they drafted, and and that's going to be more difficult going forward, because they've kind of made their decisions about who they could pay. Trent McDuffie is going to be a really interesting decision this offseason, and I stand that if you're not going to sign Trent McDuffie to a long-term contract, and I grant that there are legitimate reasons not to, you got to trade him. But if you're going to get something done, get something done now. Rashee Rice, I don't know if you're willing to trade Rashee Rice, but I do think that the Chiefs would love to get something done, and I think that they've got the opportunity to get something done at a team-friendly deal. We'll just see if it happens or not. But you got to make those decisions now. I mean, you can't wait and just hope that they work out. And that's something that the Chiefs have had, and it's not always been their fault. I mean, it takes 2 to make a deal, and they've had situations like Trey Smith. I mean, his agent strategy was to try and get him as much money as possible, which that meant, testing free agency and getting to that point and making the Chiefs use the franchise tag and getting there. So that can happen. I mean, it takes, like I said, it takes 2 sides to get a deal done, but yes, anytime that you make a mistake in one area and you have to make up for it with a signing, yeah, it hurts you. But like I said, I mean, the Chiefs, that right now, I mean, they don't have a high-end pass rusher that they didn't draft and develop that they're paying. They're paying a pass rusher in George Karlaftis. They're paying one in Chris Jones, but again, those were their developed players. So, sometimes you are going to pay your own guys. Other than that, I mean, you get down to it. I mean, it's the players that they've gone out and signed. I mean, Charles Omenihu isn't a huge cost, but again, you went out and signed him because you had an opening that you had to fill. Christian Fulton is kind of in that category. Jalen Moore, a little bit in that category, but I'll tell you what, I mean, if Jalen Moore ends up being your starting right tackle next year, and based on what he's done for you this year, he's actually a bargain. That's actually a pretty good deal. Christian Fulton is the one that we'll see if the Chiefs bring him back for year 2 or what goes on. But that's the only deal. I think the next deal that we could say is like really rough, but you're right in the sense that, you have to draft effectively every year too. And this year's draft class, it's struggled a little bit in its contributions. And so they need some of these deals to pick up and everything. Rick, media see the problems, the fans see the problems. Does this team really see the problems? I think this fits into the category, Rick, of, once again, not everything's as good as it looks. And and seems, and it's not always as bad as it looks and seems. I think that was probably one of the misnomers about last year. Certainly like last year with that 15-2 team, was that team wasn't as good as it seemed, and we kind of knew that. I think there was a lot of reluctance in Kansas City to admit it, and I certainly was that way, because I believe that the Chiefs, 11-0 during the regular season, 12-0 overall in close one-score games. I do truly believe that the majority of that is that good teams win close games. Did the Chiefs get some luck last year that's balancing out this year? Maybe. So maybe there's some legitimacy to because certainly it's playing out that way. I mean, there were plenty of analytics experts that I kind of poo-pooed a little bit, and I was wrong when they said, "Hey, the Chiefs are going to have a regression this year." I mean, they might only win 9 or 10 games because they're going to lose some close games this year that they didn't lose last year. That turned out to be the case. So, hey, if you're one of those people that said last year, hey, the Chiefs, maybe they were an 11-6 team. I thought they were a 13-4 team that got some breaks. Maybe they were an 11-6 team that got some breaks. And I still think that in individual games, and hey, if they made it into the playoffs, I still think they would be a tough out because of their quarterback. It just wouldn't be easy with all the issues that they have this year. Did the Chiefs see them? I think they see some of them. And here's the other thing too. I mean, and some of this is because, Brett Veach, Andy Reid, they're two guys who are almost never going to, throw their own players under the bus. They're not going to be critical of their own players. So you're not going to hear Brett Veach come out and say, "Hey, we're not good enough at defensive end, defensive tackle, cornerback, running back." You're not going to hear him say that. You might see him just say every once in a while, "Hey, we did, need some depth at these spots." But I can tell you from talking to people behind the scenes, I mean, hey, the Chiefs knew they had some problems going all the way back to last summer. But again, for a lot of reasons, some of it was certainly throwing everything all in on the three-peat and running everything back for the three-peat. A little bit of the problems. I mean, hey, you sign big name players to big number contracts is going to cause a little bit of the problem. So, I mean, I definitely think there's a little bit of just the dots connecting between Chris Jones and, Travis Kelce's and the big contracts. I mean, the Jawan Taylor contract, all of these things, and pointing to why you couldn't get some of the fixes this year. I mean, Brett Veach, I think he knew and understood that they, back in July, June, May, that they could use another edge rusher, that they could have used another defensive tackle, that they could have probably used another corner, that they definitely needed a faster running back. They had no resources to go get them. They had no cap space. Brian Robinson was available. Could have gotten him, but that was $4 million that they did not have available in cap room. And honestly, didn't have a very good year this year. I mean, it didn't work out for him. And so, I mean, not everything that you see and you think about these deals and everything like that, not everyone is a good move. And the Chiefs, hey, they passed on some things. Did they make the right decision going back to March with, Elijah Mitchell versus some of the other options? You're going to say you're getting the right business. No, they did not get that one right. Other options could have gone, but this is me coming to the point of my answer where I try to get to the point, and I've completely missed that opportunity. I do think that the Chiefs see problems. I'm not sure that Rick, that they're all the problems that you might see or I might see, and they might see some problems that we don't know about and that we don't see. But I think I can safely say that the Chiefs are going to try to address a lot of those problems that you perceive. I'm not convinced that they're going to have the resources this offseason to fix all of them, but I think they're going to try to address as many as they can. I see. There you go. I was trying to figure out why there was a conversation going on like an hour ago that I was missing out on with some of the, I just missed a couple of questions, or one for sure. I'm the Brown. if and when the Chiefs are eliminated from playoff contention, the top tier players get shut down or continue to play. I think they will shut down some of them down. I mean, we might even see that this week. I don't know how dinged up Trent McDuffie is with that hyperextended knee, but I'd shut him down this week. I wouldn't force or rush back Trey Smith or Jawan Taylor. Obviously, they didn't rush back or not rushing back Chris Roland Wallace, depending on how bad that back is, and there might be some other guys too. So we'll see what happens. But I don't think there's a reason to rush anybody back. No. Jesus, gosh, I swear I just saw this pop up. Jesus, now it says it was 12 minutes ago. Can you invite one of the Locked On Squad up guys to pod? Which one you want, Jesus? I mean, I know all of them to a degree. The one I don't know really the one I know the least, I guess, is why am I blanking on his name, even though I can picture his face and he's the former Chief that's on the show. Why am I completely blanking on his name? Gosh, I know somebody's already named it by now. Gosh, I'm completely and totally blanking out. But Aaron and Darren and Chris know all those pretty well, so let me know which one you want, and maybe one of them might join us on the show sometime. Good idea. Thank you very much, Jesus. And this one I do see immediately. And you. I hope I'm doing something right there, because you were very generous with the super chat. Very kind. Appreciate that. Really enjoy the content. Don't mind the over an hour episodes. Gives me something to listen to. This team is predictable, and we get away from what's working. I mean, I do think that you hit on one thing there for sure that I feel like has been an issue this year, because we've heard some players mention it on other teams that the Chiefs have been predictable, and I think that there's a couple. I mean, both offensively and defensively, and I've seen it as well. I mean, if I'm seeing it, then I know some other NFL teams are seeing it too. But I think Steve Spagnuolo, I think, has had to blitz so much this year to get pressure that teams have seen pretty much all the blitzes. The Texans really read them pretty well. The Broncos picked up the blitzes that they did against the Broncos really well. Late in the season, I feel like the blitzes have definitely lost their effect, because I think that the Chiefs have only so many directions that they're really comfortable bringing some guys. And it's, if it's Trent McDuffie, Jamari Connor, Nick Bolton blitzes a fair amount. And, but to that point, I mean, the Texans, they were prepared for that. They had the touchdown play when Bolton comes on the blitz. You need Noel Williams to pick up the running back coming out. And Noel Williams traveled elsewhere out of his zone and left the running back wide open out of the release for the touchdown. I mean, I think the Texans were prepared for that. And offensively, I mean, I'll always remember this just plain as day, that Nick and I were talking day after the Super Bowl, because I know I was still in New Orleans when we had this conversation, talking about what happened in that Super Bowl game, and that one of the things that was that Vic Fangio just looked into the soul of the Chiefs offensive line and picked apart every tendency, every mechanism, every bit of execution, every bit of scheme, and just stole their soul and put it on display for the rest of the league. And Nick and I said, I mean, the secret's out. I mean, based on what the Eagles put on film in that Super Bowl, the Chiefs have to reinvent the wheel at offensive line. I mean, it isn't even as much about talent. They've got talent. They needed a new left tackle. They got their left tackle. They've got a right tackle for, the next year. Maybe they got a right tackle for the future. I mean, they really like us to play, and they were really pleased with what they saw the other night. They think they think Josh Simmons is going to be elite. I do too, because I think he's going to be bigger and better and stronger and faster next year, further away from that knee surgery than he was this year. I think he's going to notice I think he's going to have a noticeable difference for himself and how much better he feels next year. So I think the sky's the limit there. So if that's the case, and you've got the best center in the league, and you've got a really good guard in Trey Smith, and you got a guy in Kingsley that they really like too, and honestly has had a good year, then why aren't you just bulldozing over people? Why isn't that line just dominating every game? It's because teams have seen this. They've seen what's going on. They know what's happening. And, I don't know how much, I don't know if that translates into the passing game as well as with the receivers, because I know that, like, hey, Rashee Rice's separation is down this year. I think that's the knee and the suspension, probably more the knee than the suspension. But that just happens when guys come back from the injuries. They're not as crisp as they were. So I expected that. What you want to see is it gets better next year. Worthy's had the same problem. He has not been healthy since the second snap of the year. And it's not like he's like 90%. I mean, I feel like that Worthy is probably more like 60 or 70% most of the season, if that. So there's a couple, but there's some guys I'm going to give a pass to, and I still think that you probably have to just adjust your expectations for some of the guys. But I agree. I mean, I do think that this team has some predictability, and that one of the things that they've got to do this season amongst their projects is to do some self-scouting and realize that they need some new elements. They threw some new things on an offense, and they had some new things that they did defensively as well. But I think they're just going to have to tweak and rework a lot of things this offseason. And offensive line is the biggest one. If they don't rework the offensive line approach, I think they're just setting themselves up for maybe not a repeat, but they're setting themselves up for more heartbreak next season. There just needs to be some changes. So appreciate the super chat. That's very kind of you. Thanks for the kind words, and hope I answered your question and everybody else's tonight so far appropriately. Still want to know what was going on. I didn't find the question about the Hall of Fame guys, so I need to see what I missed there. I am so far behind tonight. This is a new record, so I need to go super. I need to go lightning round here for sure. So Brian, if you want to mock me for announcing that I'm going lightning round, it's appropriate. Feel free. Could the Chiefs from the Chiefs ever hire a top offensive coordinator coach when Reed has control of the offense? I mean, maybe. I mean, I don't think Matt Nagy's a bad offensive coordinator. I think that if he wasn't working for the Chiefs, I think he'd be in demand. So I think he's a good offensive coordinator. If Matt Nagy gets a head coaching job somewhere and comes back, or doesn't come back, do they go out and get somebody else? I mean, there's always going to be any time that if there's ever going to be an offensive coaching job opening up in Kansas City, there's going to be, and when Patrick Mahomes is here, there's going to be some talk about Cliff Kingsbury and maybe him coming in. And yeah, I mean, I think that would be a really interesting approach too. So no, I mean, I think there's some good young offensive coordinators that are potential coordinators that would love to work with Andy Reid. So I could definitely see it. So I don't think Andy Reid's is a hindrance at all whatsoever towards bringing in a really good or a young and up and coming or a big name offensive coordinator. I think there's a lot would love to work with Andy Reid. So. Oh, let's see where we're gonna go next. That was one of the questions I accidentally skipped earlier. So I still wish I wouldn't know what the Hall of Fame thing was up. So the next question, I'm going to scroll down. If anybody can explain it to me and tell me what I missed question wise, I'll try and bring it up. So you have your opportunity. I mean, Patrick has all the say in the world that he wants about play calls. If he doesn't like something, he can tell the coaches that he wants something different. If he doesn't like what's coming in, he gets to speak his mind too on Fridays and Saturdays. If there's plays that they were working on during the week, let's put it this way: there is nothing that goes into that game plan every week that Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, and Patrick have not agreed upon. So he's got a lot of voice in it. And if it's something that they agreed on during the week and Patrick doesn't like it on game day, he has every ability to express himself and say he doesn't like maybe that play in that particular context or in that position in the game or anything. So I don't think he could have more say, Carol. I mean, he's got as much as he could possibly have. Oh, just because you delegate doesn't mean you're good at it. Sometimes you can be bad at delegating. I'm bad at delegating. I should probably delegate questions on the live stream so we can get through it faster. I don't know how it would work, but no 10-minute questions. Brian, now that's helpful advice. You should have done that to me 18 minutes earlier than you did. Rick enjoys backing me into a corner. I appreciate that. A lot of people try to back me into a corner. Man, people are picking on me today. I don't know what's going on. McDuffie's play. I don't know what that's particularly mentioned to NFL Siren, but I can say that this has not been his best season. So it's been a disappointing year for Trent McDuffie. And again, I say that as a Trent McDuffie fan. He's had some rough moments this year. Hasn't been his best season. This I see pop up immediately. I'm the Brown. Occasionally I can do super chats right. Thank you once again. I don't think it is a Nagy play calling issue. I think it is more of a PM15 respect issue. The enemy didn't take crap from players. PM15 needs that again. I mean, I don't think that, to me, I don't think that Eric Bieniemy makes a huge difference on the Brown, but I think he made a difference. I mean, I don't think that you put Eric Bieniemy in this coach's room and all of a sudden they're 11-2 at this point. I think that, hey, could it mean a game here or there? Possibly. I mean, and do I think it would help in just some of the individual numbers and maybe it would help in this team's toughness? I mean, yes. Do I think that they could use a guy like Eric Bieniemy? I think every team could use a guy like Eric Bieniemy. I still think that a lot of, obviously the Chiefs' problems this year, I mean, it's a lot of things. I mean, again, if they had better execution, if they didn't have as many drops, just better, sharper play calling at times. I don't know if I've ever thought to myself this year that this offense wasn't tough enough. I think it is, but here's the other thing is that they're not getting anything enough out of the ground game that they used to when Eric Bieniemy was here. But I don't think that's the lack of Eric Bieniemy. I think that's a lack of the talent that they had and the explosion that they had at running back when Eric Bieniemy was here. And he was really good at getting the most out of running back. Hey, could he be getting that out of Isaiah Pacheco if he were here? Would Isaiah Pacheco be breaking off 72-yard runs or something like that? The kind of things that Damian Williams used to be able to do? I don't know. Maybe he could. I don't know if he is the difference there, but I do think that they're missing some of the talent that they had when EB was here. And I mean, I think every coaching staff, every offense could use a guy like Eric Bieniemy. I think he's a really good coach. And hey, I'll admit, I mean, if I was a player on this team, there's probably times when Eric Bieniemy would rub me the wrong way. Obviously he's rubbed some guys the wrong way. He rubbed Travis the wrong way, but I think that there's times, but there's a lot of respect there. And sometimes you need that guy. I mean, I'll admit, I mean, I wasn't always crazy as, when I was playing sports as a kid and everything like that about coaches that would get up in your face and everything like that. Occasionally I needed it. And, my example that I always talk about, I remember, with the Royals as a youth, and Terry Shumpert, second baseman for the Royals, played there in the Hal McRae era. And by all accounts, absolutely hated Hal McRae. Hal McRae was so freaking hard on him. But when he left, I think he went to Boston after that. Terry Shumpert never played the way that he did when he was with the Royals playing for Hal McRae. Sometimes just punch your buttons and get the best out of you. And so, yeah, is EB one of those guys? Yeah, he's definitely one of those guys. He can push your buttons and get something more out of you. So, like I said, any team we'd be lucky to have a guy like EB. I don't think EB takes this team from 6-7 to 10-3 though. I don't think that's. I think these seasons got more problems than Eric Bieniemy could fix. Paul, has there been any talk about Patrick's knee? It did seem to give him some issues on Sunday. Yeah, Paul, I wasn't sure how much of it was. I mean, he did tweak his hamstring. I think it was last week, and he's been on the injury report with that. And at this point, there's probably a little bit of everything with Patrick that's bothering him a little bit. It doesn't seem like it's been affecting him too much. I mean, he's been getting some mustard on the ball. I mean, I to the point where I thought maybe a little bit too much mustard at times. I don't think that's entirely to blame for the drops, but I said he's been throwing the ball pretty hard lately. But he's been, I think, been trying to get into some tight windows too. And hey, I saw Gary Dieter mention it. I mean, is Patrick throwing the ball too hard? No. I mean, guys, they're paid to catch the ball. And they're paid to catch the ball when the quarterback occasionally throws it as hard as he possibly can. So, and I didn't even know this was coming up, Doctor Who, when I said that. Is there something about the way Patrick throws that makes his passes harder to catch? We've seen some bad drops this year. I don't know. I haven't seen Patrick do anything differently this year that I think is making, or, because let's face it, I mean, they've had some problems with this now for really off and on for 3 years now. I mean, if you're talking about the Chiefs' offensive problems, I mean, they all kind of stem from the fact that they've had some drop issues the last 3 years. And at some point, I guess we just have to admit and face the facts that this team, its receivers, they've got some drop issues, and that's going to have to be a premium. Let's face it. I mean, the Chiefs, I mean, there for a while, they absolutely put a big premium on fast receivers with good hands. I think they've gotten away from that a little bit. I mean, I think they've put a lot of premium on speed. I think there's been a little bit of an effort to try and get bigger at receiver too. I mean, they've been trying to find that piece of it, but hands just seems to be something that this receiver group, and even the tight end group, I mean, that was the snake bit this week. And I don't know, maybe it's pressure too. Maybe it's just not having the adrenaline in the tank anymore. Maybe they've just gone too hard, too fast for too long. I don't know. It's weird. But no, I have not heard anybody talk about Patrick throwing in any different of a ball, but I think that they're all still comfortable with him. So I don't think there's anything there that really stands out, but, I mean, I'll ask and see what some guys think and everything, but I know that that's kind of been bounced around on social media a little bit. And so far, some people that I would reasonably trust. I'm just kidding. I trust Eric Dieter. He would know. So, and there's evidence of other people that have weighed in on too that don't think that, hey, the like speed or anything like that is an issue coming out of Patrick's hands. Jimmy's, if the Chiefs are out of it by week 18, Matt, can you smell what you're attempting to shovel? Mathematically, Jimmy's, I'm saying there's still a chance. Do I think it's going to happen? No, but still a chance. It's a bleed error at Arrowhead. It's an interesting definition of EGE. Jimmy's, will the need for quarterbacks like Gardner mean another switch at backup quarterback next year? I think it'd be interesting, especially Jimmy's, because if Gardner gets a chance to play at some point in the next 4 games, like I said, I'm assuming, I know that the Chiefs are not making the playoffs. I'm assuming the Chiefs will not make the playoffs, and that they're going to get a chance maybe for Gardner to play. If he gets to play in a game and looks really good, yeah, another team might take a chance. I don't know if teams have seen enough or will, I mean, and there's enough, obviously there's enough, problems with quarterbacks going around the league that anybody would he could probably find a place where he could compete for a starting job. And if you're Gardner Minshew, you'd love to take what you've learned this last year under Andy Reid and Patrick and go out and see if you can win a starting job somewhere. So I would not blame him in the least if he tried to do that. Rick, I think it would be a good thing if we brought in former players, former Chiefs, even to be position coaches. I mean, you get that occasionally. I mean, there's a lot of guys that I think would make good coaches that just made too much money in their careers and they don't need to be coaches now and live that lifestyle. So there's a part of that there. But I mean, there have been a lot of former coaches. Todd Pinkston, former player, one of the position coaches right now. I mean, the Chiefs, Andy Reid's got a type. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, he likes guys that are a little bit like him, to be honest, that played college, but, weren't necessarily good enough to go into the NFL, but went into coaching immediately and are kind of lifers in that. He's got a type, and he's definitely likes, guys that have worked their way up, or, and maybe they are legacy guys that, their dads were in the NFL or something, and they got that experience. He's not against having former players. I mean, Eric Bieniemy was in that stuff. Matt Nagy. I mean, Mike Kafka. He's had him. So I could they go back and get some more of those? I mean, they very well might. And I think they definitely could use it at running back, because that's the one area where I think they could use a little bit of a breath of fresh air. Running back. No, knock against Todd Pinkston. He just never played the position. So. Let's see. Don't think that's actually a question, Jimmy. I think it's just a comment, but that's okay. Let's see, where are we going next? Rick, Alex Smith has made like $250,000 in his career. So no, he is, I think, enjoying the little time that he has to commit to ESPN and spending time in California with his family. That's what I think he enjoys doing. I don't think he wants to be coaching OTAs in Kansas City in May when he could be in California with the family. I think he enjoys just flying into Kansas City to do a piece for ESPN and then getting back home. Let's see where we going. I see now maybe this was all part of the conversation about talking about former players as coaches. Definitely never gotten the vibe that Priest Holmes wants to be a coach. I don't think that's kind of in his. I don't know. I mean, maybe he's coaching somewhere. I don't know, but that just didn't seem like his personality. And Marcus, no. I mean, I don't think he was. I don't think that was his jam. Oh, right. I'm only an hour and 6 minutes behind, as Nick would like to point out at this point. So I'm still trying to go through here. I'm scanning for questions, people. So I apologize if I miss any. I may be going faster than usual, trying to catch up. Bleed Red Arrowhead. If Andy hasn't lost the team, then why does it feel like it on the field? They are emotionless robots out there. Seem like the fans care more than the players. Nobody is even mad. I can definitely tell you that guys are mad. It's just, what are they mad about? Are they mad at their coaches? No, they're not. Are they mad at each other for somebody else not making a play? No. What I have seen has been a lot of players who are mad at themselves because they feel like that they cost their team this year. And that's been kind of ongoing. I mean, you've seen it, and guys channel that in different ways. Do I like that some of the guys channel it into leaving the locker room before the media comes in so they don't have to talk about it? Don't like that. I mean, that does bother me. I mean, for a professional, yeah. As a fan, it always bothered me too. I mean, I get it. I understand it. I'm not a fan of it, but it happens. But I think there's guys who have been accountable for this. I feel like there have been plenty of players who have been accountable for the mistakes that they've made this year and have been talking about it. I don't know. I'll be honest with Bleed Red. I can't tell you anybody in that locker room that I have seen that I think is an emotionless robot about this season. I think that there are a lot of guys that are upset about how this season has gone. I don't think there's anybody that's happy with how the season has gone. There might be some guys that handle it differently or better than some other players. And like I said, I mean, I wish that some players didn't feel like that their response to it would be to just make sure they get out of the locker room before the media comes in. And I'm not here to try and air my grievances on that or anything like that. So I'm not going to name names or anything like that. It's not my point. But it's just to say that that's the one way that players do deal with it. But I don't see anybody who has been emotionless about this, Bleed Red. I mean, honestly, there's nobody on that team I feel like that's just going about their life thinking, hey, it's great being in the NFL, being a player, lost, whatever. I don't see anybody like that. So I think that they're taking it hard. I know the coaches are taking it hard. Front office people are taking it hard. There's nobody that's not feeling this season. And if there is, they're not going to be around much longer because coaches can see that. And I don't think that's a connection about, lost the team. I mean, when you're talking about a coach losing a team, it's because players don't listen to the coach anymore. I don't know anybody. I have not talked to anybody in that locker room this year that is still not would run through a wall for Andy Reid. So that's just what it is. And it's just at some point though, hey, and the point has been made, has some of this team just run out of juice because they have run through so many walls the last 7 seasons that it's just maybe they just needed a reset year. So let's see what happens. Dr. Who, I do appreciate their idiots. Don't bless their hearts. I'm from the Ozarks, man. I'm all about blessing people's hearts when they're not making sense. That's what my grandma taught me. Oh, hey, we're slowly catching up here because we get to the part where you're all talking amongst yourselves and don't have as many questions. I mean, John, John, there's a little bit of hyperbole here, but I mean, Bob Sutton had some great seasons in Kansas City. I mean, he had some top 5 defenses, so it wasn't like there were 6 terrible years. So I mean, it was like maybe 1 year too long that they took with Bob Sutton because that defense was checking out. And I'll tell you this: in retrospect, I'm not 100% certain that I blame all of that on Bob Sutton. I would probably back off a little bit of it now because I would blame a little bit of that on that team because there were some guys in that locker room 10 years ago that were not all pulling on the same oar. They were guys who might not be emotionless robots, but they were more concerned with their play than with the team play. And that's, if you're happy after a loss because you feel like you played well, that's not great. And there were some guys on this team 10 years ago that did that. And there were some guys on Bob Sutton's defense that felt that way. So I think Bob Sutton, in some ways, in retrospect, now that I look back upon it, his teams may have had a lot of Pro Bowl players on it, and we look back and say he didn't get enough out of them. But at the same time, I think he had some malcontents that weren't making his job easy. So, I mean, hey, is that the case with this team? It's not. I mean, but hey, do they need to get fresher? Yeah, they do. And so I mean, I'll be honest, John. I mean, I feel like I'm with you in this sense. I think that there are some probably coaches and some situations on this team, at least with the way that maybe the staff is structured and the responsibilities that people have, because I think that the Chiefs, I think Andy has kind of been, let's face it, he's been trying to keep the band together because, there's just not, he doesn't necessarily feel like that he needs to make some changes because he's got some coaches that he's trying to groom and he's trying to mature and train and turn into better coaches. And as a result, he's maybe found some roles for them that they're not comfortable with. They're not excelling in. And so maybe that's what needs to be changed. So if it's not a move out of the organization, maybe it's a move in the organization. Maybe there's some guys that just need to move on. We'll see. I mean, if the Chiefs don't make any moves this offseason, I think you have a legitimate right to question it and say, hey, why? And I think that will be a question. That if this coaching staff comes back intact in April, I think that will be one of the questions that we ask in like April 16th or whatever day that we are starting the offseason program, to say what went into the decision to bring the game back again if you're after last year. So Daniel, hey Matt, just wanted to ask about the offense and whether or not Brashard Smith and Dameon Pierce should be playing as a 1-2 punch. What say you? I mean, you know me, Brashard Smith all day long. I will still want to see more Brashard Smith. Dameon Pierce, last week when I asked Dave Toba about him and the possibility of maybe taking some shots on special teams, especially as maybe a return specialist, because he did a little bit of that in Houston. He said it was really just needed to get him up to speed a little bit more on the offense. Be interesting to see if this is a week where you might see that if you wanted to activate Dameon Pierce and see what he's got. I still wouldn't do it in place of Rashard Smith. So it would be either carrying 4 running backs or put Pacheco or Kareem down and you give Pierce a chance. I don't know if they're going to be 100% comfortable with him yet. So maybe that will take some time. Maybe it won't. Maybe since they're out of the play, largely out of the playoff race, maybe they won't feel like that's something that they have to do. I mean, I'd still would, if the Chiefs, if you think there's a possibility that he's a solution for next year, I think you'd want to get him out there and see what he's got. But you know what? They've done that before and didn't do that and didn't give these guys, time on the field to see what they've got, like Tyquan Thornton last year. I mean, they brought him in, signed him on the practice squad. He never played. But kept him around. He won a spot this year, so Pierce could absolutely be a piece of next year's team, even if he doesn't get on the field this year. But I'd be interested in seeing him get elevated and see what he's got. I try to be a good sport, Rick. I do try to answer everybody's question, and I know I say this all too often. I spend too much time on some of the answers, so I apologize. It's all my fault. I am the problem. Rick, whose bright idea was it to take Clyde over Jonathan Taylor? I understood the logic at the time. I mean, especially because of what the Chiefs thought that Clyde was. I mean, the Chiefs thought that Clyde was a Brian Westbrook type, that maybe a little undersized, but speedy, fast, could catch the football, could work in space and do all these things. I still don't know if Clyde might have done that if he doesn't get hurt at the end of his rookie year, because he was just never the same after that. And, in between that and the illnesses and the PTSD, there's no doubt. I mean, Clyde has had a tough career. He's a survivor. I will respect the heck out of that. There's a lot of things to love about Clyde. Teammates love Clyde and all that stuff. But, circumstances it didn't work out for him. I thought that after that rookie year, I thought for sure it was going to work out for him. So on paper, did Clyde make more sense in this Chiefs offense than Jonathan Taylor did? I mean, I understood it. I understand what the Chiefs were doing. And I was probably more in the camp at that time that probably just don't take a running back in the first round period. And there's no doubt. I mean, the Chiefs, if they had to do others, they would have traded out of that spot, traded back. Maybe they end up with Jonathan Taylor later. They just didn't feel like that Jonathan Taylor was the right back for them at that spot. Was that right? Probably not, because Jonathan Taylor looks like he's the right back for anybody. So that's just... if you want to say that was just a bad idea, that was a bad idea. So I didn't. Then I found your second version of the question, Rick. So I should have gone with that one if I'd seen it first. So sorry. Sean, if I am correct, I don't believe that the Chiefs have a run game coordinator. Do they? I know Joe Blameyer's title is pass game coordinator. And sometimes they just give people titles for jobs that they don't do. So sometimes they just make up titles for people. Mark DeLeon's the assistant running backs coach. So yeah, nobody that carries that title. So no, there's not technically a run game coordinator. Although I think in action, I think you would probably say that Andy Heck is. So probably more so than he was when Eric Bieniemy was here. And so maybe that goes back again to the do the Chiefs miss Eric Bieniemy? In some ways they probably do. Sorry. That was Jimmy's asking BP a question, not me. So maybe I should have answered that. I mean, I'm talking about people needing to be replaced. Maybe I need to be replaced. Chiefs Nation, I think it's time to bring to light the fact that Pat has thrown the ball behind his receivers a lot the past few seasons. Thoughts? I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. Now, if you say that, that's where probably I think more of his turnovers have been coming from, I will admit, I mean, I have seen some Patrick passes underthrown to some guys I that were bad throws that you don't normally see Pat make, and he had another one of those against Houston the other night. And I'm not sure that in some of those that it was intentional. I mean, sometimes you've seen it, and it's been you know maybe he was throwing it behind the receiver trying to make sure that this guy could get a play. I feel like there's been some more this year that just looks like maybe it didn't get the oomph into it that he wanted. I don't think it's been I don't know if it's been a dramatic problem, and I don't know if it's been consistent because we've also seen him overthrow receivers too. Um, I mean, it's a little surprising because you would think that with as accurate as that Patrick can be, that there would be a lot more hitting receivers in stride, and I don't know why that doesn't happen more. I mean, does it just? I don't know. I don't get it. I mean, because maybe once again, a lot of it's on the receivers and being able to track the ball and being in the right place at the right time. I mean, Patrick was used to working with Tyreek, and Tyreek made it work. Pretty much all you had to do with Tyreek was just throw the ball in his general direction. He found it, he went to go get it, and he ran with it. I don't know that he's got anybody that's as good at that as no. I mean, obviously, he doesn't have anybody as good as tracking the football as Tyreek was. Who's the best ball trackers on this team? I mean, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remember. It's one of the practice squad guys that I remember saying that I thought was the best ball tracker on this team. Might have been Jimmy Holiday, because I feel like he had a lot of success with Gardner in training camp. And there's probably somebody else that I'm thinking of too. Jason Bradley is a really good ball tracker. Tyquan I think is okay. Worthy is okay. Worthy's not in Tyreek's class, but I think he's okay. I don't think there's any. I don't know if the Chiefs have anybody who's elite at that, and that's probably a little bit of been the disconnect and the consistency of the deep ball. And I also go back to just how rough this year has been for the deep ball for Xavier Worthy. I'm going back to the shoulder and the ankle. I just think that his timing has been completely off. He's not running at the speed that Patrick expects of him. He's not running at the speed that he expects of himself. He's with the shoulder. He's definitely not in a position to be laying himself out for the football. So, I feel like there's a lot going on there. Chiefs have they been better with the deep ball than they have been in the last few years? Yes, but I don't know. I don't know that there's anything in Patrick's game injury wise or just approach or anything like that would affect that. I honestly don't think it is. I think it's just a little bit of just maybe a disconnect and being on the same page as the receivers and having receivers that can track the ball as well as some guys that he's worked with in the past. Mary Likens, that really strikes me. It's familiar for some reason, but I don't know why. Why to keep running up the middle out of shotgun? You're not alone. I mean, Chiefs, it is what the Chiefs do. Would love to see some outside zone sometime like they used to run because Jamal Charles was great at that. And I think they got some guys still that could run like that, but don't get to see it too much. Now, any time that it's not Jesus, I see super chats perfectly fine. Watch Girk. Super chat, thank you very much. One of the Chiefs use players like young players like Bossa, Williams, Smith, Hicks. They wait for injuries. Example: Pole, Rice, Knoll. Missed the Fab 5 days. They were aggressive, and that's something we haven't talked about in a while. But it's kind of the Fab 5 flame out a little bit. I mean, Brian Cook is Brian Cook. He's been playing full time for a while. He's been a really good player. Trent McDuffie, great player. So those two I can't really say flame out. And Jalen Watson, I can't. I mean, Jalen Watson's the one that kind of finally stepped up and really became kind of the guy that they wanted out of those three corners between him, Josh Williams, and Najee Johnson. And for a while there, I mean, it looked like Najee might end up being the guy. By the way, I have no idea what's happened with Najee this year. I have no idea why he hasn't come back from injured reserve. I'm under the kind of impression he's been healthy, but Chiefs have not wanted to talk about why he has not been coming back yet. I mean, he's still around. He's on injured reserve. He's in the locker room and he's with the team, but I just have not really understood what's going on there. With Josh Williams, it's been pretty specific. I mean, they just lost a lot of faith in Josh Williams. I mean, and he was the guy that had the highest ceiling, but maybe the lowest floor of that group. And been a special teams player for them. They've been effective at that. But for whatever reason, it just kind of fell out. So, between Josh and Najee, at one point, both of those guys looked like they were going to be really good contributing players. And for them to be at the end of their rookie contracts and that not really be in play now is kind of surprising to me. We'll see what happens. But Bossa, I talked about earlier, I think it's a little bit of just the adjustment for him as being a tweener. They're still trying to kind of prep him for being a little bit of a jack of all trades. I mean, and that maybe ends up being what he is. Maybe he ends up being a special teams ace that plays just a little bit of linebacker. Maybe he won't be a starter, but I think this offseason will be big. I mean, if Bossa puts on a little bit of weight and can still maintain his speed and play a little bit like a Drew Tranquil, be a backup to a Nick Bolton type, I think the Chiefs, that would be their dream scenario for him. I just don't know if he's going to be able to develop himself into that. And I think that the Chiefs still feel, like I said, I think they still feel like he's just kind of growing and maturing into the role, and that's why he's got maybe a little bit more learning curve. And that's probably, I mean, that's why he was available where he was on day 3. I think there were some teams that thought he just needed more seasoning, and that's what the Chiefs have found. Jaden Hicks, I can't explain. I still like what I see from Jaden Hicks. I don't get it. I guess this is a little bit like Noel Williams, in that I've seen some of the kind of things that Noel Williams has had some struggles with this year. So him not playing as much since Buffalo, I know there's a lot of fans that see it differently and are like, wait a minute, this guy's been good. Why isn't he playing more? I'm like that with Jaden Hicks. I feel like I've seen a lot of good football from him. I don't know why he's not playing more. I don't get it. And Brashard Smith, I mean, again, the Chiefs, he's still a raw as a running back, and that's all that I get is still that she's just learning the position, learning to be patient, all of those things. But man, I still think he's got some electricity. I would give him the ball in more situations, just because he saw it the other day, got 1 touch, 7 yards on an outside run. 7 yards is a good run play. So, I mean, are you mad that he didn't take it 23? I mean, 6 yards more than you were getting on some plays. So, but watch Girk. Thank you very much for the question. Appreciate the super chat as always from our super chatters. Truly appreciate it. Gotta catch back up to where I was. And super chat always takes me away from the stream, but I still love the super chat. So if all the questions were super chats, that would be even more amazing. But that's unrealistic. So we're all good. Let's see. Oh, there we go. We had our Andy Heck question. One of the many Andy Heck questions, as always. Getting closer. Let's see. The Lamar Hunt Trophy is going into exile in Denver. Doesn't that tick anybody off? I mean, you think it's going to go to Denver, Brian? I just can't. I mean, Sean Payton's a good coach. I'm just not ready to put Bo Nix in the Super Bowl. I'm just maybe I'm wrong. Wouldn't be the first time, but I just don't see it yet. I don't see him as being ready yet. I think he's ultimately going to make some mistakes that's going to cost that team down in the playoffs. But I have been wrong before. Rick, how much money does the referees make in the back alleys? Oh, I got to say that part of the question. I don't think they make any there, Rick. I think I feel like the NFL is on the up and up. I know it's scripted, but no, it's not scripted. I shouldn't even say that as a joke, because there will be people that say, Matt Derrick says the NFL is scripted. No. Let's see. Chris, no, nothing. Don't have to worry about derailing people. It's all okay. And for Apocalypse, is McDuffie refusing to play slot? In my opinion, it's obvious he's better in the slot than Watson, Knoll are best outside. If he will KC target slot cornerback specifically next year, um, I've I have no reason to believe that McDuffie is refusing to play the slot. I haven't looked at the numbers for this week, but he's been playing the slot. I mean, well, and this week he didn't play much at all. So I should say, I guess I haven't. I don't know what his. I can't remember what his numbers were against Dallas, but he's been playing the slot this season. Some of it is just that, I mean, the Chiefs feel like that he is generally they're better out. I mean, they've put it this way: the Chiefs feel like that Trent McDuffie is their best corner at all positions. Um, doesn't mean that that's where Trent McDuffie is best. I think Trent McDuffie is also best in the slot. But if they're in a base defense, they're going to put McDuffie outside. There's going to be some times when he's playing. I mean, it's going to be matchup driven. I mean, if they feel like there's a slot receiver that they have to have Trent McDuffie on, he's going to play the slot. If the best receiver on the other team is on the outside, Trent McDuffie's probably going to play a little bit more outside. And you've seen Shamari Connor, before Chris Roland Wallace got hurt, he was in that spot. Now Noel Williams is kind of playing that a little bit. Kevin Knowles got some work in there the other night. I'm interested in seeing that. I mean, but are the Chiefs trying to figure out who their next slot corner is? Yeah. I mean, and that's another one of the things that was one of the things that went wrong this year. The Chiefs never figured out what their best cornerback rotation was. They never really figured out who were their best three corners to put onto the field. They pretty consistently knew it was McDuffie, Jalen Watson, and somebody else. They just never really figured out who that somebody else was. So, and it's tough. About time. Why the lack of Juju use? I don't know if that it's really a lack of use. It's just, I mean, a lack of targets, I guess would be the better way to put it. Pulling his snap counts up just to see where they've been at. Because I feel like that he's, I mean, now granted, I mean, he's your number 4 receiver, essentially. So, I mean, that's, especially at this point right now in the season. I mean, you Rashee Rice is your number 1, Xavier Worthy's number 2. Hollywood Brown would be your 3. There's places where you're going to put Juju, you're going to put Tyquan Thornton that you wouldn't put them in all necessarily all 3 spots. Juju you could play in a little bit more. Tyquan's kind of maybe a 1 or a 2 spot guy. If I can click the right button here to pull up the old snap counts, but I mean the last 4 games he's gone 24, 45, 22, and 24. And he's got in those 4 games 5 targets. So not the numbers he was getting earlier in the season. He was playing a lot more snaps when the Chiefs were out without Rashee Rice, without Xavier Worthy. His plays, it's Rashee Rice related. I mean, he played 40 snaps or more in every single one of the first 6 games of the season. He's only played at least 40 snaps once, and that was against the Colts when the Chiefs ran like 90 plays. So that's kind of an asterisk there next to itself. But no, I mean, it's definitely Rashee Rice coming back. And yeah, like I said, I mean, it's a little bit of just what he is. I mean, he's the number 4 receiver on this team, and maybe in some weeks, based on the scheme, maybe 5. Maybe Tyquan Thornton's going to be getting more snaps ahead of him. So that's really it. And to me, a little bit of it is that's kind of who this wide receiver room is. Juju is kind of that receiver at this point of his career. He's not a number 1, maybe a number 2, maybe even number 3 guy. I mean, he's the number 4 receiver. Rashee Rice, I still think he is going to be a good receiver. I mean, the Chiefs feel like he's a top 10 receiver in the NFL potential. I don't know if I can sign off on that. I did at one point. I'm starting to have some reservations, but and there's some that have more reservations than I do and have had them for a while. So I'll give those people props if and when it comes true. But Hollywood, I mean, I feel like Hollywood numbers Hollywood are going to have this year, I think, is who Hollywood is. I don't think Hollywood's going to go somewhere else if he leaves Kansas City and all of a sudden be a 900,000 yard receiver. I think when healthy, Xavier Worthy can be a 1,000-yard receiver. I don't think he's going to be a 1,400-yard receiver, but he can be a 1,000-yard receiver. He just needs to be healthy for that. So Juju, I think, fits in my kind of, like I said, I think that this year, unfortunately, I mean, I think you are kind of seeing that this wide receiver group, discounting Rice and Worthy a little bit due to the suspension and the injuries, that they're just having subpar seasons. So, Brian, who should be fired? Matt, I was thinking about this earlier today from this question standpoint, Brian, and I know you're not trying. I actually appreciate that you're not trying to be, a problem creator here or an instigator. I just don't like the tone of the question, but this is why. It's just that when we talk about all of this, I mean, and I had a discussion with Seren Petro today on the air, and I'm not going to get into that because we disagreed, and I'm not going to talk about a disagreement unless he's here to talk about it as well. And I don't want to be throwing out my side of the argument or anything, but a tangent to this is that, and that discussion is that, I mean, the decisions that you make and that the coaches make, that players make, and, performance and what's happened this year. I mean, I get, for fans, it can feel like life and death, and it can feel like the biggest thing in the world. But even for us, it's not as big as the people who live it. I mean, there are going to be kids that get taken out of schools and, moved across the country because, dad or mom even, have got different jobs now because of the way that this season went. It's going to happen in other cities. It can happen to some people in Kansas City. And so, I mean, that's one of the reasons why, I think this may have been part of the discussion earlier about, when does Matt ever, say that somebody needs to be replaced or anything like this. I completely and totally get that part of it. That's why I don't take it lightly when you're talking about, whether or not somebody needs to be let go or fired or anything like that. I mean, I think that, if you're going to discuss it, make sure you're doing it respectfully, because these people they have feelings, they have lives, they're makes a lot of money, but they still are trying to take care of their families, and they've got, some of them have kids, a lot of them have kids, and all these things are considerations. And so I think about all of that, and that's why, I mean, I try to take that in consideration with any of these conversations. So now I'm just making my live stream even longer. But I mean, are there people that I think that the Chiefs need to move on from? I mean, I feel like I've been pretty blunt. I mean, not as blunt as Nick, but we're both in the same ballpark that, I mean, the Chiefs need something new at offensive line. So I do feel like that they probably need to move on from Andy Heck and do something differently. He's been a great coach for the Chiefs in the past. I just don't know that they're getting the most out of the talent that they have at that spot. I think Todd Pinkston is probably miscast as a running backs coach. I'd love to see him at wide receivers. Love to, because I think he'd probably be a great coach at that spot. Knows the position well and can really probably do a job. I think Connor Embry is a great young coach. Any organization would probably need a guy like that. Chiefs believe that with Joe Blameyer too. Joe Blameyer was wide receivers coach for a while. Now he's pass game coordinator. And like I said, sometimes these titles don't match what coaches do. I mean, sometimes these coaches, you give them titles, for bumps, to give them raises and all these things. And sometimes it's league rules that, hey, you give this player, a coach a bump, and now you can't interview for other jobs below that because it's not a upward move, it's a backward move. So there's sometimes some gamesmanship played with these titles and everything, but I don't know there's anybody else, I mean, on the offensive coaching staff that I would just say you're better off without them in the organization. Maybe they just miscast. Maybe they just need a new spot, new place to coach. Like I said, I mean, Connor Embry, I would still try and find a place for. I mean, you got big coaching staffs. I don't know that the Chiefs necessarily need wholesale changes in a lot of spots. They just need some fresh perspectives in some places. And if you can get that at running backs coach, and, if Todd Pinkston's a better wide receivers coach than running backs, I think that would be great. Find something for Connor Embry, because like I said, I think he is a really bright young football coach who's got a great potential in front of him. Chiefs have a bunch of those guys. So I don't know they necessarily, like I said, necessarily meet a lot of changes. I think there will be some changes on the defensive side. I don't think there's anybody that deserves to lose their jobs. I think that there might just be some turnover because some guys might get some. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if one of the Chiefs assistants gets a defensive coordinator job somewhere. That's a distinct possibility. So, I think guys who might be able to get some promotions. Sometimes it's going back to college and getting promotions. So that can happen. I just think, like I said, I think there's some changes. I mean, I think pretty hard about whether or not, when you talk about firing coaches, firing executives, cutting players, any of these things. I mean, I don't take any of it lightly. So if on occasion I get high and mighty in everything in my answers, like Brian, I know some you're great, Brian. I got nothing, I got no problems with you. Every once in a while, you just push my button. Jimmy's does too, but I love you both, and you're just such great contributors. So it's nothing personal. Just every once in a while, you just find a way to punch my button. So that's why, hey, if sometimes I don't come out and say it, some of it's just because I try to be respectful and to do it like a person. So that's all I have to say. Off my soapbox. I'm done. So moving on. I think in that rant, I had not seen Watch Girk's first super chat or his second. So we'll go to those now. What would an offseason overhaul look like to you? I just laid it out, Watch Girk. I mean, you kind of just stumbled into it a little bit there. I mean, I do think that, hey, if you don't want to fire Andy Heck, fine. I mean, Andy Heck's been a loyal and good coach for a long time. So find him another job in the organization. Maybe he still has I'm sure he still has good input. So I have no problem with that. I just think you need a different perspective there and a different leadership. I mean, I just don't know that the players have responded to what they need. So I would make a change there. Like I said, I might tweak some other spots just because I think the receivers could use a receivers coach with a lot more experience than Connor Hembree has. Like I said, great young coach. Find another spot for him. No run game coordinator titles out there. So make him run game coordinator, and he can do a lot of different things for you. But he's, like I said, I'd keep him around. Todd Pinkston would, I think, be a great wide receivers coach. And you go get a running backs coach. There's, you get somebody with some experience. You need somebody, and do I think Eric Bieniemy is going to come back here as a running backs coach? Probably not. Would he be great at that? Sure. I don't think it's going to happen, but there's other running backs coaches out there and some people with experience. You need somebody, I think, that's got some experience, working with some speed and explosive players and being able to come up with some new concepts and some things that you haven't been doing in, running the last few years. So, that's all I think. I don't think this team needs a massive overhaul. I think they got a lot of really good young coaches. I don't think there's any massive problems wrong in the front office. They might need to look at a couple of things and just make sure that, once again, that they're getting the best advice from every area, and that they're not missing anything. Maybe they need some fresh perspectives, but I certainly don't get the sense, and there's no feedback that I get that there's any problems, and we don't really get to see the front office and work very often, so it's hard to judge a lot of their jobs outside of Brett Veach. But it's, for the most part, it seems like they got a lot of people that that pull in the right direction and do the right things. But if you're not drafting the right talent and you're missing on some players, then that's something that really only Brett Veach and Chris Shea and those guys can really evaluate. But I don't think this team doesn't need a complete overhaul. I think they needed a couple of tweaks here and there, and you go forward and you see what happens. And your second super chat, which you're actually your third overall, I think. So, Watch Girk, thank you very much. I truly appreciate that. Using a Minihue, Fulton, Mitchell, Dana money based on slow starts, lack of energy, who and what needs to change with the veteran leadership? And that is a really good question. Now some of it, there's not a ton of money there, and you did invest a little bit in Christian Fulton. That if you don't bring him back for next year, he's going to be basically 1 year 15 or 2 for 10. So you got a decision to make there. Dan, I'm trying to remember. I feel like you're probably right. I think that this is an out where you could walk away from Mike Dana. And again, I like Mike Dana as a player. It's just I do think that the Chiefs need something different there. And a Minihue, Yeah, I think the hope was certainly that being a year back from the ACL, that he was going to be closer to 2023 Charles Omenihu than he was with 24. I don't think we've seen that this year. So yeah, I think you're walking away from a Omenihu. But I mean, so what do you need? I mean, you need to get younger and faster. And I think you're fine with some of the veteran leadership that you got, Watch Kirk. I really do. I mean, you've got Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton's a great leader. I mean, he's a great glue guy. There might be some people that you consider keeping. I mean, at the right price. Brian Cook. Trent McDuffie is going to be a tough one because he is expensive. Trent is a credible teammate. I mean, if I could build a team of Trent McDuffies, I would, because he's just that kind of guy. If is he perfect though? Is he a perfect fit for everything that the Chiefs need? I mean, if they were able to get a big corner, I mean, Jalen's got good size, but has been inconsistent. I mean, obviously Christian Fulton has had his struggles this year, so the Chiefs don't have that big corner complement to Trent McDuffie. If they had that, you'd feel differently, and maybe you could. But again, I mean, Trent has played well enough to be paid a lot of money, and I just don't know if it's worth it for the Chiefs. And if they don't have Trent McDuffie, I mean, keeping Brian Cook in that secondary would at least be a big start towards, keeping some, because if you were to walk away from both Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson, you don't really have a lot of leadership in that cornerback group. So you're probably looking to bring somebody in. I mean, and that maybe that's why you do keep a Jalen Watson or a Trent McDuffie. You try to keep one of them, not just for the continuity, but just so you've got some veteran leadership there. And and Chris is a good leader up front. I think Omar Norman Lott's going to be a really good leader. Him coming back from his injury, I think, would be huge for this team and to be a top contributor. The question to me, Watch, are there veterans that you can bring in that can bring you some leadership? I mean, if you could find one of those in the secondary, I think it would be great, and preferably a corner. I mean, I've not gone through the free agent list, so I can't point to, hey, here's the 6'2", 200-pound, 27-year-old corner that can provide leadership. I don't know if that guy exists even, but that's who you'd love to have. You need, but first and foremost, you got to get younger and faster at every single spot on the second and on the defensive line, pass rush, pass coverage, linebacker, corners, younger and faster. If you don't bring back Drew Tranquil, it's because you replaced him with somebody who's younger and faster. If you're not bringing back Jalen Watson, younger, faster, and tall. If you're not bringing back Mike Dana, younger and faster. I don't think you're right now. I mean, I would say that probably the only defensive tackles you'd be bringing back would probably Chris Jones and Omar Norman Lott, and anybody else that you bring in, younger and quicker. That's what you're looking for across the defense. So, like I said, I think that they've got some pieces of leadership that are fine. Do I think they missed Justin Reed a lot this year? Yeah, I do. Like I said, I think Brian Cook can be a Justin Reed. I think he's in. I think he's in that path. So I think they've got some good young leaders. It's just and Trent McDuffie's a leader. He's just not a big, loud, vocal leader. Brian Cook is more of a vocal leader, and there's some other guys that fit in that spot too. But like I said, I don't think that they need a lot of major additions there. I mean, they need to get younger and faster. If they do bring in a veteran, it needs to be somebody that's, like I said, that at least fits in with what they need to get better at. And preferably, like I said, probably a defensive back, because if you don't have Jalen Watson and Trent McDuffie, you need some leadership in that room. So appreciate all three of those super chats. Watch Girk, I appreciate that. Very kind. And I somewhat treated you well because I actually saw yours quickly. Once again, apologies to Jesus. Let's see. Oh, we left off with Brian. So Mitchell is next. Any chance, once the probability is zero, any of the vets that have known nothing but winning phone it in? I mean, and I see Mary's comment too. I mean, I don't think that anybody's phoned it in. I think that guys have played to the max of their abilities. There's just some guys that have maxed out their stamina and strength and speed, and and some of that's a residual of maybe a little bit of run it back for the third or the three-peat. Maybe you stuck around with some vets for this year that were more affordable to keep than to walk away from, and you value the continuity and everything. I haven't seen anybody phoning it in. I haven't seen anybody complaining about anybody phoning it in. So uh I doubt it, Mitchell. I mean, I really do. I mean, once again, if there are some veterans that do that, you're making life easy for the Chiefs because they know who to walk away from in the offseason and who not to. So I haven't seen any evidence of that. And if they do, like I said, great, because now you just made my job of figuring out what to do in the offseason so much easier. Jimmy's. So if Spags go, it helps get Reed out. I'm down. I don't think that one has any much to do with the other, Jimmy's. I'll be honest. I mean, we really don't know what's going through Andy Reid's head. Everybody assumes that if maybe Matt Nagy is the heir apparent in Kansas City, that if he's still here when Andy Reid retires or walks away, fired, or I mean, if he gets fired, I'm assuming Matt Nagy is not going to be his heir apparent. But if and when Andy retires, and Matt Nagy's the more likely successor, if Spags goes, I'm assuming it would be to the New York Giants, and it certainly hasn't sounded like that's a real strong possibility. But honestly, I mean, if Spags left, Jimmy's, I think it would just be more likely that Andy Reid stays, because he wouldn't want to leave the Chiefs in a lurch like that. I mean, with a new defensive coordinator, and depending on who the coordinator is, if it's somebody, I mean, Andy Reid's going to be. I don't know if you want to replace all three of your spots. I don't think that's what you need. I mean, especially because that's the thing. I mean, Andy Reid left, Steve Spagnuolo left, and you're ending up with a new head coach and two new coordinators. Even if one of them is still Matt Nagy, you're probably talking about rebuilding a lot of the staff. And I get some of you want that. I'm just, once again, be careful what you ask for, because I often say, it's one of my favorite sayings and one of my truest beliefs. Right after, do not let receivers impress you in shorts and no pads. One of my other top lessons learned in life from the NFL and watching football all these years is always assume that the next coach is going to be worse than the one you have, because most of the time it is. I mean, the next coach that replaces Andy Reid is more than likely not going to win 3 Super Bowls. That's just reality. So just like I said, be careful for what you ask for. Sometimes when the gods wish to punish us, they answer our prayers. So that's all I'm saying. As I get all philosophical here at the 2 hour and 21 minute mark. So I'll have to slice this thing up into some shorts and see if anybody wants to watch those. Let's see. Where are we going next? I'll talk about Kareem Hunt. Jimmy's posting a trash can for some reason. Oh, I'm glad this one came up to a degree. Rick, is it true that Kareem Hunt kicked a hole in the wall of the locker room after the Texans game? Saw it on Twitter. No. I did track down the origination of that, and it was from a ridiculous parody account, which is another reason why I am truly starting to hate social media. And that's not even a parody. There's nothing even funny about that. So Twitter, don't label these things as parody accounts. Parody accounts are funny. They do something that's amusing. They do something that brings attention to things, puts things into a context. This was just stupid. So no, it's not parody. Label it, this account is moronic, and that I could deal with. Oh my gosh. Rick, not your fault. You're just pushing my buttons the same way that Jimmy's and Brian does. But no, it did not happen. There was no hole in the wall, nothing like that. I'm just fearful of what's happening next. I saw the plane crash video in Florida of the plane landing on top of the Toyota Camry I-95, and I had to go and make sure that it wasn't AI because I'm just being overrun now by deep fakes and bad Twitter accounts. So now I need a drink of tea to calm down. I've really gone off the rails here in the 2 hour and 20-minute mark. Oh, right. And I'm only an hour behind. So, oh, and I saw, Mary, you had a question that didn't have a question mark, and then you posted it afterwards. So I'm going to you next. If Juwan accepts a significant pay cut and signs a prove-it deal, and you get a new O-line coach, do you retain him? I mean, I guess that's a possible scenario, Jimmy's, but I don't think it's one that the Chiefs are considering. I think they're ready to move on. I don't get the sense that Juwan wants a significant pay cut or a prove-it deal. I think he wants a starting job. I think there's probably a team out there that would pay him like that and give it. Let's put it this way. I mean, I think there's teams out there who will only pay him a lot more than the Chiefs are willing to pay him, especially because the Chiefs have already paid his replacement in Jalen Moore. So they've got him under contract, and they're happy with Jalen. So I don't think there's any problem there. So no, I think that one is a done deal as far as the future there goes. Mary, should Veach start trading the players the coaches run out there 98% of the time, regardless of the statistical proof that they're hurting the team? I'm trying to pour through that one just to make sure I'm getting it. I'm trying to read between the lines about maybe who you're talking about, so don't know that for sure. But I mean, obviously, if the Chiefs are running somebody out there 98% of the time, they think they think pretty highly of that player. And there are players I get that are not fan favorites that the Chiefs do seem to like. But I'll tell you what, I mean, once again, I mean, there's nobody in this roster that Brett Veach doesn't like. So if Brett Veach has them on the team and the coaches use them, Brett Veach likes them too. There might be some players who play a lot that simply because they just don't have other options. So that's always a possibility. But no, I mean, if you're going to trade anybody, Mary, you're trading from a position of strength largely, especially in the NFL. I mean, once again, you're not going to get value for players that you don't have value for. So, I mean, anybody who's like, hey, trade Jawan Taylor, he's under contract, somebody else will pick him up. No, they won't, because they don't want to pick up the contract that he's paid on. They would want to have their own deal and do it that way. They would rather and they don't want to give out any resources for it. So they'd rather the Chiefs release them and sign a fresh contract than to give up draft picks and pay them the money that they're currently due. You don't get, I mean, if you're going to do anything like that, I mean, it's Sky Moore deals, the Sky Moore for conditional sevenths and things like that. I mean, or positions in the draft. Those are the deals that you're going to make. You're not going to get you're not going to get anything largely for players that you don't have value for. I mean, if you're as a fan or like saying, hey, I don't think this player has any value, let's trade them. Well, probably nobody else thinks they have value either. Now, that's why you're probably not going to get that much. If you want value, you're going to have to trade Trent McDuffie. That's the kind of thing you're going to have to do. So there are no easy answers in building an NFL roster. Jimmy's is rooting for 6 and 11. Jimmy's wants that 15th pick overall. And at 6 and 11, you maybe you'll get better. Although there's a lot of bad teams in the NFL this year. So, G baby 9. The Chiefs aren't bad. They have some flaws they couldn't overcome this year. Is 15 still the quarterback? Coach Reed's still there. This team doesn't need to rebuild, just to reload. This is a reasonable conclusion and observation. I saw the question marks there. It's not technically a question, but I'm glad that I brought this up because this is a perfectly reasonable conclusion from the facts of this season. And I basically could have probably have wrapped up this live stream at 7:05 if I had just read this one comment. I'm not even being facetious here. This is for real. This is exactly how most of you should feel. I understand a lot of you, a little bit more upset than that. You want some changes. You want some things to happen. You want, better draft pick. Jimmy's just wants to have the 4th overall pick. This is the reality. The Chiefs aren't bad. They have some flaws, but they still have Andy Reid. They still have Patrick Mahomes. They're going to be fine, most likely. So, could be wrong, but G-Baby9, I salute you. This is the best comment I've seen all night. No offense to everybody else. Well, Tracy, Mike Edwards is still playing because, I mean, at this point, with injuries and everything, he's kind of the best option. I mean, I didn't think he actually played that badly the other night. I mean, Mike's up there in age, so he's probably they're gonna have to watch the snaps a little bit. But I thought he played well. So, gosh, and I'm looking through. Did anybody ever remind me who? Because I feel terrible now. I mean, gosh, and just remember. I mean, you all, most of you have been around here long enough. If you're new to the live stream, you may or may not know that I just completely blank on names sometimes. I called someone today the wrong name, somebody I know really well. I have two of the people who work in Chiefs PR, one of whom I am pretty sure hates me because I keep calling them by the wrong name. I mean, this is just the way my brain works. I feel terrible about this. So why am I forgetting the other guy that does the show with Aaron Ladd, Chris Clark, and Darren Smith? I don't know why, because he used to play for the Chiefs. He was a good player. He was a broadcaster. There's no reason for me to be forgetting this dude's name. He's a good guy. I really respect him. I like him. Can't remember his name whatsoever. I feel terrible about this. I shouldn't be working out my therapy on the live stream here, but I am. But it looks like everybody has a little bit of vote, except for the one guy that I need to have a vote so I can remember his name to be, to come over here and be a guest sometime. Oh dear. Yeah, I've really gone off the rails in the 2 hour and 20-minute mark. We're up to 2.5 hours now, so it's only going to get worse. We're going to wrap up here because I know, even though I'm still an hour behind in the questions, I know there's not as many questions coming up down the road. So, and if I stop wandering, we'll get done even faster. Round Rock, who do you see as Travis's replacement? I don't see Noah Gray filling that void. You are correct. I mean, I like Noah Gray. I think he's a solid number 2 tight end. But you're talking about Travis Kelce's replacement, and you're talking about the number 1 tight end at an Andy Reid West Coast offense. And it needs to be somebody else. Jared Wiley, I mean, would be next man up. I mean, that would be the guy that you would be betting on. Jake Breeningstool, probably still a little bit of a project, but I like Jake Breeningstool. I will be very interested to see those two guys next year in the offseason, how they develop. It seems like those would be your 2 best internal bets. Next one would be hey, if the Chiefs draft another tight end this year, might be a possibility. You never know, but maybe next year it'll be Travis Kelce again. So maybe the Chiefs will have another year to replace him. You never know. About time. If they build a new stadium, does Clark get a condo in the new one like he has at Arrowhead? I mean, I would assume so. Why wouldn't you if you had that opportunity as an owner? Yeah, I mean, that's a great perk. So why not? I've never heard about one in Kauffman Stadium. I assume there's one over there too. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you and Kauffman didn't want one put in there. I don't know. I mean, because my recollection is that I think that apartment in there, which is just a suite, it's just an owner's suite that's big enough to be an apartment condo. Lamar had it, so I mean that's my understanding. So I don't know if it went back all the way to the 72 or not, but I know it wasn't just the Clark development or anything. I know they remodeled it when they redid the stadium back in 2008 2009. So. At least Jimmy says I was doing well with the super chats until that one Jesus that I kind of once again fell asleep at. Let's see where to next. Did Mo Williams win the cornerback starting position, Jesus? Why am I completely confused about that one? I'm completely confused. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm not there for you, Jesus, on that one. What team is winning the Joe Tooney trade? Ooh. I mean, I'll be honest, the way that Joe Tooney has been playing this year for the Bears and the way that the Bears have been playing, I mean, I don't know how I couldn't say the Bears. I still feel like that the Chiefs did what they had to do. I mean, they had, once again, I mean, they had to find some places to save some money. And I mean, I'm trying to remember, the Chiefs still have that. I don't think they've moved the 4th round pick yet. I think they still have it. So the Chiefs haven't, finished the trade, right? So I'll have to double check that and make sure, but I think that the Chiefs still have that 4th round pick for 2026, so it's not done yet. But Bears are getting a lot of Joe Tooney. I couldn't be happier, and I know from talking to his old teammates in Kansas City, I mean, they're all very happy for him as well as he's been playing, and that the Bears are playing well. Joe Tooney just plays for winners, man. Give it up for him. I mean, the Chiefs had to save some money. They had to do something, and hated that they had to walk away. I understood it, especially from the injury standpoint, even after last year, as well as he played there down the stretch and what he did for that team at tackle. I mean, it was hard, but the Chiefs weren't in position to be able to pay Joe Tooney what he is worth and what he deserves and everything. The Bears were. So I didn't think it was the wrong move. That was one of the thing that the Chiefs had to do as far as, getting younger and cheaper, all those things, but it still hurts. Still hurts because Joe Tooney's one of the good guys. He absolutely is. Man, Jimmy's went nuts. I don't know if there's actually a question for me. I think it was just part of your discussion there going off. But if I haven't mentioned it before, I mean, I thought this back in Tennessee. I mean, Mike Vrabel to me is one of the top 3 coaches in the NFL. He's a great coach, and this fits into one of those things. I feel like Mike Tomlin's been trying to get fired, in Pittsburgh for 3 years, because I just don't know if it's. I don't know if it's. I don't think it's that his message is wearing thin. I think that Pittsburgh has worn thin for him, because I don't think that they're giving him the talent and the players that he needs and wants. My cynical person in me and conspiracy theorist is like feeling like Mike Tomlin's been doing his best to try and get fired, but he just keeps, winning and going over 500 every year anyway, because he's freaking Mike Tomlin. Mike Vrabel, you look back and now and you see what Mike Vrabel did with the quarterbacks that he had. Whew. That dude took. I'm trying to remember, was it Mario? It was Mariota that he took to the AFC Championship game, right? It was Mariota, right? I mean, he was winning games out there with quarterback. He took a wide receiver and was winning 10 games a season. Took a former wide receiver turned quarterback and went to the playoffs with that guy. I mean, it was just a matter of time. You give Mike Vrabel a quarterback, and if Drake May is that guy, man, Vrabel's just going to be a problem for a while. So good thing he didn't end up in the AFC West. That would be a problem for the Chiefs for sure. Tyler, did the Chiefs own the rights to Esapole for next year? Does he deserve to get another game at left tackle with how good the performance was against the Texans, even if Jawan Taylor comes back? I do. I mean, I think he played well enough to get more opportunities and snaps there. We alluded to earlier in the show, if you want to move Jalen Moore over to left tackle and let Pole play on the right side with a week of preparation, that's fine by me. No problems there. But yeah, I think he played well enough to deserve it. And yes, the Chiefs technically will own his rights for the next 3 years, with contracts like players like Essa, both as a undrafted free agent, but also as a player who was not under a rookie contract. The Chiefs have exclusive rights to him for 26 and 27. Assuming he gets, I think he's going to he'll get a credit this season for this year because he was on the Jets 53. So he'll be a exclusive rights free agent for 26 and 27. Chiefs get first crack at him. I mean, they can offer him a tender and he can sign it or not play. And then 28, he would be a restricted free agent where the Chiefs just have to, again, put a tender on him. They can kind of tie up his rights. Technically, restricted free agents can be signed with other teams, but then there's compensation involved. So if Esapole ends up being a really good player, yeah, you've got him exclusively for the next 3 seasons. So all good there. Yeah, I'm still trying to remember that name. It's going to drive me crazy. I'm looking for it in the comments. So if I missed it, please somebody throw it in there again at the end. Alex, I think Veach is going to go crazy like never before this offseason. How so, Alex? I mean, I don't think he's going to go as crazy as he did in 2021 when, he had to replace his entire offensive line and rebuild it from scratch after the Tampa Bay Super Bowl and after the injuries with Schwartz and Fisher, forced him to go in different directions. So I don't think it'll be that crazy, but I mean, Brett's gonna do some wheeling and dealing. He's gonna try and get some things done, free agent wise, trade wise. I mean, I think he's gonna be looking for solutions anywhere and everywhere. I know, Jimmy's. Everything makes sense, when it was posted. Every once in a while, I just like to try and figure out what I missed, and if there's anything that I should be sharing. Let's see. This is where I need to get a producer. I don't know if Andrew, my landscape supervisor, is on the phone. Maybe I need to on the show tonight. Maybe I need to hire him to be my producer and go through and help me find questions so that you don't have to all listen to watch me scrolling through. When you guys put the question marks in front, even if it's a comment that you then trick me into reading, that works out really well too. But once again, we are to the part of the show where it looks like everybody's just posting comments and you've already asked your questions. So, Jesus, no apologies necessary. You're used to it. I don't know why that happens with you. I mean, I feel like there's a conspiracy against me and you. So, Jesus, it's definitely not, I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm not doing it on purpose. I just don't know why it always happens to you. I mean, we know I am bad at this most of the time with watching the super chats. I don't know why, because I mean, what it's supposed to do and what it did earlier on a couple of them is that it posts up here on the screen so I can see it at the top of the comments, and it's like there for several minutes, even after, I mean, what, whose was it? It was Dadeo, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Dadayu. I'm sure I'm butchering that. And once again, that's probably not what you go by on YouTube. It's what StreamYard's telling me you go by. That was up there for like 5 minutes. Jesus, I swear it like never puts your comments up there. And it just automatically just pops up in the starred section. I don't know what's going on. It's just, and again, I mean, nobody wants to hear me complaining about these things 2 hours and 42 minutes into the live stream. So look like we are getting close to the end here. So if there's any final thoughts that you have, any questions that you want to get in here at the end, last call. Here you go, Jesus. Well, what could the Chiefs get for McDuffie? Sign and trade. Really, and you wouldn't have to necessarily do a sign and trade with McDuffie because he's got the 5th-year option. So he's already signed for 26. So you got the control there. The other team's gonna, if you trade McDuffie now, other teams got the leverage with the franchise tag, to be able to get something done. And if somebody's trading and giving up resources for Trent McDuffie, they probably want to pay him and get something done. That's how much they like him. My concern is that I do think that the Chiefs probably missed the window as getting the most value for McDuffie that they can, because it hasn't been a great year, and his one weakness has kind of been exposed a bit this year, which is that, I mean, his big receivers are a little bit his kryptonite. So this fits in with the narrative that Trent McDuffie is an outstanding slot corner, that isn't as strong on the outside. I still think Trent McDuffie is a great corner. I mean, but me thinking that and you thinking that, Brett Veach thinking that he's a great corner, doesn't enhance his value. It only depends if other 31 NFL GMs and their coaches think that he's a great player. I think that some will. But problem is that he's going to be perceived as a slot nickel corner, and those guys don't make as much, and they're not as much in demand as outside corners. So it's really difficult. So I mean, I think Trent McDuffie his versatility is incredible. He is so good against the run. He's a great blitzer. There's all these check boxes. And then you get to his one weakness is guarding, 6'2" to 6'2" guys plus downfield. That's where his bad film is this year. And that's where teams are going to hold it against the Chiefs, and it's a potential if you're trying to trade. And it could be a holdup and even trying to get a trade done, because there might be some teams that want to pay Trent McDuffie, might not pay Trent McDuffie what he wants. That could be another part of the problem. I do think that, and once again, you just go back and you look at other corners and the trades and the situations. And, you talk about sign and trade, and you're kind of alluding there to the Sauce Gardner that the Jets trade right after they signed him. And therefore they're trading away a really good contract because they're eating so much of the cost with the signing bonus and some of the money that's already been paid. So, the Colts ended up getting a deal on that, which is why they had to pay a little bit more, because the Jets were eating some money on that deal. That doesn't make sense for the Chiefs, because the Chiefs, if they're trading Trent McDuffie, they don't want to eat any money. They won't want to sign him and eat some money. They're going to want to just get him off the books and let some other team pay him, because they have salary cap problems of their own. They don't need to add any more to their cap. So it won't be a sign and trade. It would definitely be just a trade, and the other team ends up signing him. So what could they get? I mean, that's my concern. I mean, that's why Sauce Gardner gets you 2 first rounders, because you ate some of the cost and he's an elite corner. This season, has that tarnished a little bit of the view that Trent McDuffie is in that Sauce Gardner, Pat Surtain tier? Yeah. I mean, I think the perception around the league now is going to be that there's a top tier where there's 5 guys maybe, and then there's another tier below that Trent McDuffie is maybe in. And I think, if you could get a second for Trent McDuffie, I think that would be a really good deal. And that stinks. I know it. You're listening to this and you're saying, wait a minute, Trent McDuffie was a first-round receiver or first-round corner. He's still young. Why can't you get, more for that? Well, because he's a little bit older now. His weakness has been exposed. So there's going to be some teams that are concerned about that. Going to have to pay him. That takes a little bit of the luster off as well. That's more than you got for L'Jarius Sneed, and you should, because McDuffie is younger and better than L'Jarius. No offense to L'Jarius, it's just facts. So could you get a little bit more? Maybe. I don't think you can get a first rounder for Trent McDuffie unless you're given something back in return. Could you get a second plus, like second and a day 3 pick? Maybe. I think it would be more likely a third and a day 3 pick possibility, but I feel like a second is maybe the high end. And that's just going based on past trades, market value, what's been out there. Once again, you don't have a lot of things to go on as far as, what players' value there is. But again, it's the guys who can get you a first round picker. Sauce Gardner is Trent McDuffie Sauce Gardner. He's not. I love Trent McDuffie, but he's not. So that's kind of where I at least I see it. I could be wrong, Jesus. Maybe you can get maybe Brett Veach. Brett Veach is a wheeler and dealer, man. Maybe he can get a first rounder, and if he does, that would be a great trade. I mean, it really would. They could get a first rounder back from McDuffie. That would be a great trade. Even if I think they got a second and a strong day 3 pick. I still feel like that would be a good trade. So, and I don't know that the Chiefs are necessarily going to trade Trent McDuffie, but I think unfortunately, it makes a lot of sense for them. And I say it just because, like I said, I mean, Trent McDuffie is a really good dude, a really good player, good teammate, but can you pay Trent McDuffie? I don't know if you can. And if you can't, you got to trade him and get something more than a comp pick down the road, which would be nothing better than essentially a 4th round pick, because it would be after a 3rd round comp pick. I mean, that's not what you want to get for Trent McDuffie. I mean, you're better off trading and trying to get more for him. Rick, nope. There's no sucralose in this tea. This is Milo's unsweetened iced tea, all for me. So very proud of myself. That's at least the one thing I've done well today. Let's see. Where are we going next? Let's see. Hey, Sue, have you seen where the World Cup games are going to be in Arrowhead? I mean, I know the Argentina game will be big. I know that there's 2 of the other team. What is it? Also starts with an A, right? We get 2 games from a team that I can't remember now, but it's got to be like a pot 4 team, right? So hopefully I think, if I'm not mistaken, that it sounds like that the round of 32 game that Arrowhead would get, if everything goes according to seed, would be an incredible match, as I remember. But I can't remember. It would be Argentina and somebody else, I believe. I can't remember who, but there you go. That, once again, everything I know about soccer all crystallized into one sharp little answer there. Luttrell, any chance you see Kingsley back at left tackle some point this year? That's what, if you didn't see it, led to my favorite quote of the year. I asked Kingsley if he, during the game, if he gave any thought to the fact that he was maybe one injury away from kicking back out the left tackle against the Texans, because I mean, he would have been next man up if something happened to Pole or to Jalen Moore. And I think I think he misinterpreted. I wasn't asking him if he was worried about that, but I think he kind of interpreted my question that way, because I was just asking if he gave it any thought during the game. And he's like, nah. And I said, would you have any problem with that? And he's like, I'm not worried about it. And he's like, if you're scared, get a dog. Just thought that was a great answer. So good advice for anybody. If you're scared, get a dog. If you're scared about what you're doing, get a dog. There you go. Don't be afraid. I love it. Jesus, Noel Williams, did he win the quarterback starter position next week? You know what? That's a really good question. I hadn't really thought about who might start in that spot with McDuffie out. Quite possibly. I mean, I could see the Chiefs going in a lot of different directions here. I mean, if they're truly in, not worrying about this wild card race. They're not worried about, trying to win that wild card spot or the playoff spot. I mean, and they're just, willing to kind of see what they have and maybe peek ahead to 2026. I could see all 3 directions. I could see giving Christian Fulton a chance to figure out what he's got, and if he's worth keeping around for next year. I could see Noel Williams. I could see Kevin Knowles, but Noel Williams would probably makes the most sense out of all of them. I mean, that's a really good question. I'm intrigued now. I mean, I'm also intrigued about, like I said, about Najee Johnson and maybe him coming back. But I don't think that, even though my understanding is he's healthy, I don't think they would put him back in there where he just practiced for 3 days and all of a sudden play. So I think they would give him more time than that. But I think you're right, Jesus. At this point, I would think Noel Williams would be the most likely guy at that spot. There's a lot of things cause my memory problems, Rick. It's not just the sucralose. Alex, one last one for you. Is this the offseason the Chiefs rip up Mahomes' contract and start a new one? Not a new one per se. I mean, they'll stick with the framework that they've got. They've set up that contract to do just that. He's got some void years on the end of it so that they can, always move money around and do some things. But yes, this is the year that they're going to do that. Most likely, it's built for that. I mean, the contract is not really built for them to go ahead and pay that $78 million as in cash this year. I mean, it's built for them to convert some of that to a signing bonus, some of it to probably a roster bonus, option bonus that's maybe guarantee some more future money and do some things like that. So it won't be I would be very surprised if it's a brand new contract. Again, I think it'll be just a restructuring of the one, but not a simple restructure, not where they just take cash and convert it into a signing bonus and spread it out over the next 5 years. This will be one of those contracts where they kind of retool everything and move a lot of money around, add a bunch on the back end. And so it'll look like a new deal, but it'll just be the original contract with some new money here and there, a lower salary cap up front, and all those fun stuff. So Mr. Visionary, what about a Rice sign and trade in a down year for 25? I mean, again, the only real beefy issue you have with a sign and trade from the Chiefs standpoint is taking on any of that salary cap hit. I mean, the Chiefs right now, they're like $40 million, depending on the source. Spotrac and Over the Cap are pretty close. Usually Over the Cap is a little bit closer. Chiefs are $42 million over the cap. Now, a lot of that you get there with Patrick Mahomes and walking away from the Juwan Taylor contract. You get most of the way there, if not all the way there. But you don't have, that you don't really have the ability to take on a bunch of money. So, like I said, doing what the Jets did and eating some of that contract. So, and if you're able to sign Rashee Rice, right now, there's probably an opportunity to sign Rashee Rice at a below market deal. If you sign Rashee Rice to a below market deal, I think you keep him. I mean, that's the dream scenario there. I mean, unless you just really think that Rashee Rice is primed to fall off the face of the earth, but I still think his best football is ahead of him. So, and you know what? I mean, if it is a team friendly deal with a lot of incentives, that's probably even better of a contract for you. I think there's the possibility there. Chiefs have been talking with Rashee Rice, for a while, and his agent for a while on a deal. I think they would love to get something done this offseason. I mean, maybe sooner than later. I think there's a reasonable chance there's something done before March. That's not any insight. That's just gut based on knowing what I think the Chiefs want to do, and certainly what would probably be good for Rashee and getting something done. So let's see what happens. But I still think that the Chiefs still feel like that there's good football that they want to be a part of, and if they can sign him for cheap, I think they'd rather keep him than to trade that away. And they certainly can't buy a lot of money. Yeah, I was thinking it was probably Ryan Tannehill. I remember when Ryan Tannehill was a wide receiver at Texas A&M, so I'm always going to think of him as a wide receiver. But and Tannehill was fine, but he was not a great quarterback. I mean, Mike Vrabel may have just squeezed all the juice, and I get. I think Ryan Tannehill. I know he went to the playoffs one year with the Dolphins, but I mean, Mike Vrabel squeezed all the juice out of Ryan Tannehill. He got every win you could get out of that young man. He got every win you could get out of Marcus Mariota too. So don't think I forgot about that. If you're scared, call the police. There you go, Jimmy's. Oh, well, I think I see one more question here. So last call. If you got anybody else guys anything, we'll wrap it up. And if I do this quickly, we can get over before the 3-hour mark. Paul, with the look he had at the end on Sunday, you think Travis is in his final games? I mean, Travis didn't say anything to us. I mean, he did not have a lot to say. He did tell one of the reporters who asked him if he was willing to talk. Nope, but have a good day. That was the most in his feelings I've ever seen Travis Kelce, both on the field when he just kind of laying there at the end after that last play, and in the locker room when he was just when we walked in, he was just kind of had this 1,000-yard stare, staring into the ground and his hands on his head, and he sat there for about another 5 minutes after we walked in before he even moved to start getting undressed and take a shower and everything. And I don't know how long he was sitting there before we walked in. It was clearly more than 5 minutes. And I saw one, I think it was Tunyon, I think, is the one that has his locker next to him in the locker room, and gave him a pat on the back as he was leaving. But by and large, nobody really talked to Travis either. If this is Travis's final season, if he ends up retiring at the end of this year, I mean, that's going to be a pretty lasting memory for me. I mean, I hope it's not. I enjoy watching Travis play. I think everybody does. I mean, even at this point in his career, it's worth watching Travis Kelce play football. So hope it's not, but fear that it may be. So we'll see what happens. I mean, Travis told us that he plans on making a decision before March, so maybe we'll find out before then, but I imagine that's probably about the time that we will find out. Everybody, thanks for joining for another marathon session. One of these days, I'll figure out how to do this in a timely manner and do it in true lightning round fashion. Tomorrow, Chiefs back at it, so regular week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You'll hear from us, see everything from both myself and Nick and the crew over at KSHB 41. Noon game on Sunday, so you will get 41 is the mic in your feeds earlier than usual, but still after Nick and I get all the other shows done and everything and all the other content produced, so probably still late Sunday evening, hopefully not Monday morning, but you know how we operate. Everybody have a great week. Thank you as always for joining in on the party, and